Commissioner, you're ready to begin the meeting.
Let's call this meeting to order. It's August 20th. I believe the time is, where do we have our clock here? 7:07, a little late, sorry. Okay, so this is the Elbert County Planning Commission. We normally start our meetings with a prayer and a pledge. So could you please all stand? If you could, remove your hats. All right, dear Jesus, due to the issues that I've heard encountered last week, I pray for those who are experiencing hardships, physical, mental, substance abuse, emotional. I give them all, I pray for them all for the strength to endure and find some peace in our earthly life. Additionally, I pray to protect all those who are in positions of risk, protecting others. And above all, I pray for the preservation of life in all stages of life. In Jesus' name, amen. A pledge, please.
To the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Okay, if we could, at this point, I think we traditionally go through a roll call. Please, Wendy?
Danny Wilcox.
Here.
Kevin Kirkwood.
Here.
Dan Sands. Eric Carlson. Eric Carlson. Absent. Mike Buck. Dee Dee Schott Grace. Robert Politik. Robert Politik. Absent. John Gresham.
Here.
Thank you. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Dewey, thank you. Okay, next thing on the agenda is, I guess we have to remind everyone to turn off their cell phones. So if you could, please. Staff report.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair, other planning commissioners. I'm Mark Denrader, Director of Community and Economic Development. Just one update for you. You heard a case previous called Phantom Creek Preliminary Plat. The Board of County Commissioners heard that particular case on August 14, 2024, and they approved that application. And that is all we have in terms of updates for you from the BOCC. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Okay, consent agenda. I believe we have nothing, correct?
Mr. Chair, we have nothing on the consent agenda. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. This section is citizen comments. It states in your agenda. These citizen comments here, we're asking you to present are anything unrelated to the applications we're going to hear tonight. So if you could please, if you have any comments, please feel free to step up there, make comments unrelated to things we're going to hear. Okay. Guess it's all related to the applications, so we'll go on with that. All right, we have a number of minutes to approve. So we have June 4th, those meeting minutes. Okay. Have we reviewed those, folks? Have you got a chance? Okay. I want to forego the reading of the minutes because we have a lot to cover tonight, and hopefully we get out of here in 2 nights. So if we could, on those meeting minutes, do I have a motion to approve them or amend them?
I make a move to approve the June 4th meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Second, any discussion down there? Anybody? Nope, we're good? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we go on to the June 18th minutes. Did we review those? We did. Okay.
I recommend approval for the June 18th
Kevin, thank you.
meeting minutes.
I'll second.
All right, thank you, guys. So, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye, thank you. Approval of July 2nd meeting minutes. Boy, you got a lot, Wendy. Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve
This
the
time?
July
Okay.
2nd
thank you.
meeting minutes.
Okay,
I second.
second from Kevin. All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the August 6th meeting minutes. And I believe this one I wasn't there. So,
I recommend approval of the August 6th meeting minutes.
okay.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I was absent.
You were up, so was I. So, thank you.
I was here.
You were good, thanks.
Yeah, you weren't here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That covers our meeting minutes. Okay, we're going to head into the public hearing process now. And I'll give you a little heads up on how it's going to go over. One, we've got quite a few items to cover tonight. And first of all, I want to tell you that the Planning Commission itself, we're a citizens advisory group. Okay, that truly fits what we do. We're a quasi-judicial group in that we are supposed to look at the application, compare it to the codes and ordinances that are currently in place, and then we then vote on that application based on the compliance with what we see with the codes and ordinances. So, but certain things allow us some privileges, and on our board, due to the fact that the pending outcome of our commission, which is all we can do is recommend. So at the end, we'll recommend approval, we'll recommend denial, or we'll recommend approval with conditions. But that comes with, when I state that recommend, that's all it means. So meaning that will go to the board. Across the board, we recommend disapproval, denial. It is still going forward to the board. And I say that for a number of reasons, because what it's going to do, it's going to allow us up here to voice sometimes personal opinions. Okay? It's going to allow everyone out there, because you are in the same position we are, it's going to allow you to voice any concern you have regarding these applications. But knowing that the outcome of this hearing has no bearing on the outcome of the hearing that goes before the BOCC. And I say that for a reason, because one, and I want to tell all of you folks, if you're intending on being here and this is your only chance to give input, I would say somehow get your input to the next hearing, the BOCC hearing, where it can be considered. Because a lot of times, if it's verbal output, it will not go forward to the BOCC. And I say that for all of you. Now, in turn, I say that here because what it should do should shield us from a little bit of, you know what, well, I'm going to go after you guys. Well, we're in the same boat you are. So, and I say that for that reason, because that gives us a latitude to sometimes voice our personal opinion. So, that's a long way through explaining how our process is going to go. But I hope it gives you some clarity and when you're up there voicing your opinion, knowing that when you voice your opinion here, you need to go before the board so it gets heard. All right. So the hearing goes as such. It will go in that what we normally start with is we have our staff present the application. Each application will be presented. Then we ask the applicant to come up and input what they can. Then it goes to public comment. And when I say public comment, what we're looking for, and this is really kind of important information for tonight, because your public comment is going to be noted, and then we're going to try to respond to some of that some of your comment through rebuttals, through the applicant and staff. So that's how each hearing will go. So you will get a chance to speak, and you will get a chance to voice your concerns. And then hopefully in our rebuttal part, we'll be able to answer your questions, maybe calm your concerns in replies from the applicant and staff. So, with that said, I already told you the outcome of this hearing can be three things. Recommend approval, recommend denial, or recommend approval with conditions. So with that, we will head into our public hearing process. And the first hearing is the Industrial Tower West Matheson Special Use by Review. So, please.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Kelsey Lanham with the Elbert County Planning Department. And like Chairman said, tonight I will be presenting the Industrial Tower West Matheson case. This case is proposing request for approval for a special use by review permit for a 195-foot wireless telecommunications tower at 20631 County Road 149 in Matheson, Colorado 80830. The Planning Department is recommending that the Planning Commission makes a recommendation of approval to the BOCC. And just a little background on this project, this exact same SUR went through the application process back in 2019 and was approved in 2020. But due to no activity taking place since the approval and no extension being requested, the application was required to go through the process again. So that is why it is here tonight. The applicant is Kyle DiNardo on behalf of Industrial Tower West, LLC. A little bit about the process. Their pre-application meeting was on March 6th of 2024. The application was submitted on May 23rd of this year. Originally, this item went to Planning Commission on August 6th, but due to lack of quorum, it was continued to tonight. And as of right now, it is scheduled to go in front of the Board of County Commissioners on September 11th. This application was noticed in compliance with all noticing requirements in the zoning regulations as well. Here is a broad overview of the location. In the next couple slides, the subject property will have the red star on the map, just for easier reference. The subject property is approximately 36 miles slightly southeast from Kiowa and 0.4 miles to the south of the town of Matheson. The subject property is 200 acres and has one sole owner. There is already an access easement on the property that was established by the applicant company and the landowner. This is an overview of the surrounding zonings for the property. All properties except those directly located within the town of Matheson are zoned agriculture. And here is just a slight portion of their SUR exhibit plans. The proposed tower will be located on the western portion of the property. The image to the bottom left, so the S shows where the proposed site location is. And it's approximately 286 feet to the south of Highway 24. The next two slides will be visual renderings. The picture on the left is the existing, the picture on the right is the proposed, and this is if you were looking on County Road 149 looking west. And this rendering is if you were looking to the southeast from Highway 24. These are the referral agencies that received and reviewed the application. There are no outstanding objections from any of these referral agencies. And the following agencies did not respond. The Elbert County zoning regulations determines that a special use by review permit must follow the review criteria set forward in Article 3, Section E, number 5. Those 8 criteria are as follows. Number 1, the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This use is in harmony and compatible with surrounding area. Number 2, the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. There is no current infrastructure on the property that would be affected. Number 3, the use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. The use will not increase traffic and an existing easement is already established. Number 4, the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The proposed tower will not cause air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. Since the tower is under 200 feet in height, it does not require to be lighted by the FAA. Number 5, all sanitation requirements will be met. This proposal is not requesting any sanitation. The use will be adequately landscape buffered and screened. The proposed tower will not be landscape buffered or screened, but will be set back at a distance greater than what is required. Number 7, the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. This use will not be detrimental. This tower will provide telecommunication service to properties within Elbert County. Number 8, supplemental standards are met for specific use as applicable, and all supplemental standards have been met. The Elbert County Planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommends approval to the Board of County Commissioners for special use by review application SUR 2024-2063, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of approval by the BOCC. Number 2, the special use by review should not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the SUR exhibit is recorded. And number 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of approval by the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you. I am available for questions, and the applicants are here tonight.
Thank you. The applicant, please. I apologize, I don't have your name. Can you hear? Is the,
Does that work? There we go.
there you go. Thank you, Wendy.
For the record, my name is Teresa Swigert, and I'm here with Industrial Tower West and Vero Wireless. We are, as Kelsey was explaining, here to propose the 195-foot self-support tower in order to fulfill a gap in coverage there, as well as meet the needs of our customers. Any questions? Okay.
Is that what you have? Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Be available if we have questions. Maybe you can answer, okay? Okay, at this point in time, we're considering the Industrial Tower West. Do we have any public comment on the tower? Okay, hearing none. Do we have any comment up here on the tower? No?
Only that I'm sorry we weren't here for the quorum
Last week? Okay,
sorry.
okay. Nothing down here?
So a couple quick questions, if the applicant doesn't mind. You're pretty well set back. I'll just position this so as you're walking up. You're pretty well set back. Is there an easement allowed for the, well, you might want to turn me down a little bit. Is there an easement for access to the tower itself?
Yes.
How long does the construction take for the tower?
It depends on, Kyle, if you can help me with this too. It kind of depends. Yep.
Okay. And it's a benefit to the community, frankly.
Yes. Yep, it helps provide coverage for the indoor in that town, and then also a gap in coverage that's in that area.
So cell towers as well as wireless functions.
Yes.
How about the fire department? Did the fire department get a antenna on the tower?
Yeah, there were a few of them that didn't respond, but I believe there was one that responded, or a couple that did.
There was no objections from the fire
No,
department.
I'm not looking for an objection. Were we able to use the county or use that for extending the communications for the county?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, there's a couple of different spots that are specifically meant for the 911 communications or fire department, any of the emergency communications.
Great. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Wendy, you got to turn on this mic. Okay. Any more questions? No? Okay. So at this time, I have to recuse myself on this. I'm part of the ECA board, was part of the ECA board. So, can I entertain a motion to?
So I recommend approval for SUR 2024-2063, the industrial tower for Matheson.
Do we have a second? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Show aye. Show unanimous. Show unanimous minus me. All right. Where'd she go? Okay, thank you. On to the next one. We've got an SUR for Dariana's Backyard, SUR. I think it is a kennel, correct? Don't worry.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Danny Klebanner, and I'm a land use planner here for the Community and Economic Development Department of Elbert County. Tonight, I will be presenting Dariana's Backyard, a special use by review, case number SUR 23-3984. So this is a special use by review to establish a dog boarding and kennel business. The location is 4167 Private Road 188 in Elizabeth, Colorado 80107. This will be for a special use for the dog kennel on a 35-acre property. The applicants are Graham and Dariana Coe. They submitted a pre-application meeting June 9th, 2022. They had a community meeting September 29th, 2022. Their formal application was submitted May 5th, 2024. Here we are today, August 20th, 2024, for the Planning Commission, and the Commissioner's hearing is on September 11th. All noticing complied with our Elbert County zoning regulations 14-day advance notice requirement with a posting in Ranchland News, 1,320-foot radius mailings, and an on-site sign posting. The location of this property is in the northwest corner of the county. Here's a zoning map. It shows you the subject property there outlined in blue. The surrounding zoning to the north, west, and east is agricultural, with 35-acre agricultural or residential properties in the Hillside Ranch subdivision, and there to the west is the Mountain View subdivision with 5-acre parcels, Mountain View Ranch. Here's another aerial of the property. It's a 35-acre property. Access will be there off Private Road 188. Here's a rotated view of the property that shows the neighborhood across, Mountain View Ranch. The existing zoning and access is agricultural with an agricultural land use. There is no change to the zoning. A special use would be added to allow a dog boarding and kennel business. The special use would be accessed through the existing driveway that serves the residents, and the property is accessed via a private driveway off Private Road 188, and that's roughly 260 feet from the intersection of County Road 17. Here are some details for the proposed kennel. Commercial dog kennel for up to 30 dogs that will be open year-round. The days would be Monday through Sunday. No new structures are proposed. Dogs will be crated in the walkout basement from the residents. A fenced-in play area will be used periodically between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., with 7 to 7 being the primary time. Dogs are going outside, and then one final potty break after that before lights out. No customers will be entering the residence. It will be a pickup and drop-off area located outside the residence. The owners also offer a pet taxi service, and that's to try to reduce some customer trips to and from the property and collect dogs. Here's a look at the site plan, larger zoomed in look here. The primary residence is there kind of at the lower area of the picture on the left, with the pickup and drop-off area outside. Then there's the outdoor space, and there's a proposed additional 6-foot cedar fence that is proposed to go around on the north and west sides for additional screening. The house is about 2,900 square feet, and about a quarter of the building will be used for the special use. Here's an additional site plan with setback details. The house is over 170 feet from the property line. It details the pickup and drop-off area, and about 130 feet from Private Road 188. That's the fence line and a little bit further to the center line of the road. This went through a standard 3-week referral, and no objections are outstanding from any contacted referral agencies. That included responses from Rattlesnake, Fire Protection District, Colorado Division of Water Resources, Kiowa Conservation District, Core Electric, Elbert County Assessor's Office, the GIS Analyst, Elbert County Public Works, Elbert County Zoning Compliance, and the Elbert County Engineer. And there were a few referral agencies with no response indicating no objections, including Elbert County Public Health, the Office of Emergency Management, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, CDOT, CDPHE, Colorado Geological Survey, and Colorado Department of Agriculture, PACFA. So our evaluation, we believe that this request is appropriate for a kennel or boarding, breeding, and training more than 10 animals, which does require the special use. The location near 2 main roads in Elbert County is positioned well to serve dog owners in northwest Elbert County. Dariena's backyard will need to purchase water for the animals and will not be allowed to use their residential well to serve the dogs. Dariena's backyard will need to receive its licensing from Colorado's Pet Animal Care and Facilities, PACFA, prior to opening, which they're in the process. Again, these are the same 8 criteria for special use that you heard previously. A, whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This special use to request a dog boarding business is in harmony and compatible with the neighborhood. The large lot context of the neighborhood with a mixture of agricultural and residential uses blends well with the proposed kennel. The nearest residence to Dariena's backyard will be over 300 feet away, about the length of a football field. There will be a small fenced-in play area for the dogs to minimize any potential noise to neighbors and limit the dog's movement on the property. It's important to note these owners are also experienced in the dog boarding kennel business and have practical experience minimizing dog barking, which can be a major concern with kennels. B, whether the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. Dariena's backyard will be accessed from a private driveway from Private Road 188 that currently serves the existing residents. Elbert County Road and Bridge did not have any concerns with the addition of this business. The adjacent county road is not anticipated to be burdened by this proposal. The business will also be served by bulk water purchases and thereby will not increase any groundwater usage on the property. C, whether the use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. Elbert County Public Works reviewed application materials and had no objections. The business is expected to generate roughly 8 additional trips to the property daily. The owners also operate a doggy taxi to pick up and drop off dogs to further limit additional trips from customers. D, whether the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The proposed uses are not believed to cause any significant forms of pollution. The business will be licensed by PACFA, which also has specified hygiene requirements. E and F, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. Elbert County Public Health reviewed the application and the applicant provided up-to-date information on their septic system. The system will not be used with this proposed use. F, whether the use will be adequately landscape buffered and screened. The residence will appear like all or several existing residences in the area. The dog play area will also be behind a structure, and there will be an additional cedar fence that will be required to increase the screening and, again, limit movement from the dogs on the property. That 6-foot cedar fence should be sufficient buffering. Finally, G and H, whether the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. This use should not be detrimental to Elbert County residents. Dog boarding and kennels are a valuable service to the community. This business will support residents with dogs and contribute an important service to the community. Finally, H, whether supplemental standards are met for specific uses. Animal care supplemental standards are met for this application, and if approved, the applicant will need to receive its license from Colorado's PACFA prior to opening. Elbert County Planning recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval for Dariana's Backyard special use by review, and that case number is SUR 2024-4167. Might have appeared incorrectly on one slide. That's my apologies. And the conditions for this application are mostly the three standard ones that were listed on the prior application: removing the public sign within 7 days, paying all fees, and recording all appropriate documentation within 180 days of Board of County Commissioners approval. And then number 4, the applicant must retain records and receipts of bulk water purchases, and the applicant must be licensed through PACFA prior to opening. Thank you for your time here tonight, everyone. And this was Dariana's Backyard, SUR 2024-4167. Thank you.
Danny, thank you. The applicant, please. Do we have them here? There you go.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Grace Erickson, Providence Consulting Applicant Representative. Also present this evening is Graham Cowie with Dariana's Backyard. Thank you, Danny, for the great overview. I only have a couple updates to Danny's report. The bulk water contract has been set up with Parker, so as Danny mentioned, bulk water would be used, and that contract is in place pending approval. And the PACFA license that's also required to operate is in progress. So Dariana's Backyard anticipates to have that by September. One item that I do want to emphasize is that the SUR is for approval of up to 30 animals. The daily average is anticipated to be much less, probably 4 to 8. 30 is really peak times, holidays, and that's really intended to carry this business through and make it viable. And that's all I have to add.
If you could be available for rebuttal on some questions of that. I know on this application we had a few comments. I don't know if the folks were here, but I saw them in the application. They were written concerns, and if they're not brought up in the folks asking questions on this, I will refer them to you, okay? To the applicant. So, with that, do we have any public comment on the kennel? Well, did this EC East dog kennel? Okay. You know, we've got a list here. I will tell you folks, if you didn't sign up, fine. I will be sure everybody gets hurt. Okay? All right. So,
I'm Bill Murray on that list.
Lisa, first one I show here is Lisa Drangshout. Sir, you were up here. I apologize. You got a cane. You should have just stayed. I'm sorry.
I think it's kind of interesting that we don't always get to meet our neighbors, but it's nice to see you tonight. I'm here to express my concern of the approval of the proposed dog kennel on my backyard.
First, your name and address, please.
Lisa Drangschult, 3713 Green Mountain Circle. Thanks. We moved in about 8 years ago, and one of our favorite things to do is sit on the porch and say, "Can you hear that?" You can't hear anything. It's lovely. We expect occasional barking from our neighbors' dogs, but I dread the thought of incessant barking and yelping of a 30-dog kennel. I don't know how you minimize dog barking, but we love our mostly quiet neighborhood. We love our horse and goats and cows and chicken neighbors who sometimes make a little noise, but not too much. I disagree that the use is in harmony and compatible with our neighborhood, and I'm asking you to please not recommend approval of the kennel.
Okay, the next one we have. Bill Murray? There you go.
Say Bill Murray?
Are you Bill Murray?
Yeah, I'm Bill Murray.
Please. Sorry, I should have just had you say.
So I just want to add, there's no harmony here. The pictures over here on the screen, they show like a little bit of the subdivision that I live in. I live at 3600 Green Mountain Circle. And there is a lot more houses to the left of that map than they're showing. And gee whiz, it's like really quiet. I took randomly for the last week, I've taken videos with my phone of how quiet it is. And if you guys want to see them, you just call me on I got a note that I wrote and put in there and sent it in and stuff. And I got my phone number there. I'll show you all the movies of how quiet it is in that area. And I can't imagine 30 dogs at night. Have you guys ever heard the coyotes off in the distance, yipping and yapping, 2 miles away? Well, we're talking feet, not miles. And we could hear these dogs like crazy. Are you kidding? That's my saying. I mean, oh my God. I can't imagine. We've been here 45 years paying taxes to Elbert County. 45 years. So help me out, buddies.
Thank you, sir. So we have Lou Braden.
I'm Lou Braden, 3875 Twin Buttes Place, Parker, Colorado. We're just down the road from this development. And can you gentlemen imagine the noise that's going to be coming right across the road? My son lives across the road. Can you imagine the noise that's going to be coming 300 feet from your house? Can you imagine what your property values are going to be when you know, people come out there and they hear 30 dogs barking, you know, and your property values go down, your quality of life goes down, you know? I live further to the east or to the west, and it's still going to affect my property because the sound carries down through that valley. It'll hit my place, it'll hit Bill's place, it'll hit Bill and Sylvia's place. You know, this is not a good idea. And if you look where that's situated, it's in the corner. That's in a 5 acre section. You got 35 acres you could have done this in. No, 5 acres. Number one, the traffic. You're going to have 60 cars, not 6. I don't know where he got his number, but 6 cars is way too low. You're going to have 30 cars. Plus, you got, I don't know how many emus right out in the front yard, right by the road. We've had cars come out there, do a brake check, emergency stop, just to look at those stupid birds. You want that? You got semis coming over the hill, it's, supposedly 30 miles an hour. What's going to happen when that car does a brake check on the semi? You're going to have problems. I've put their cattle back in their area. They've got cattle out there too. I put their cattle back in their area several times. My son has done it too. If their cattle get out, their dogs are going to get out. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd deny this motion and allow it not to go through at all. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have Cy Murray. Did I pronounce that right? No, I see S-Y.
L.
Okay. I apologize.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great,
Okay.
but I have a concern about the
I'm
noise.
sorry, name and address, please.
Excuse me? Oh, 3600 Green Mountain Circle.
Thank you. I have it here. Thank you.
Okay. I've lived there for 45 years. I built my own place, and there was hardly anybody out there. But I'm concerned about the noise. I'm also a nurse, and I work for a veterinarian, and I'm concerned of the hygiene stuff in the basement of that house for those animals, and also for the people upstairs breathing all that stuff all the time. It just doesn't seem safe. The noise is another concern of mine, and like Lou was talking about the emus and the cattle getting out, I'm concerned about the dogs getting out also. If they can't keep their livestock in, it's kind of concerning for me, and that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. As far as the list, that's all we have. Do we have any more public comment on? Yes, please. Now, if you could, please give me your name.
My name is Sue Fink, and I live at 4369 Private Road 188. I live to the east of the Cowies. I have known them since they moved in about 3 years ago. They have done a heck of a lot to improve the property on the corner. They have improved the property. I'll just leave it at that. They have built a small farm with their cattle that I have not known to get out. Their emus have not been out. The one-time neighbors said something about goats coming out to the road. They put them behind fences in the back. Up to 3 years ago, there was a kennel across the road from me that raised German shepherds for military personnel. Bred them, trained the people with them. There were an awful lot of traffic then. Those dogs were noisy, but they were kept at the evening time. They were inside, or their noise was kept down. I was, as I say, just adjacent across the road. Everything was fine. I have no doubt that the Cowies will do the same. They have a history of having had a pet boarding service, and that's very important. This is not a doggy daycare. These dogs will be with them overnight. They're not just come, drop off a few hours back and forth. That's where the number of cars is lower. But they've had a history of 4 years in Highlands Ranch. They purchased this property after exploring it for the possibility of opening a kennel. I would like to thank staff for all the information that is posted on your website. There are any number of information pieces that speak to why dogs bark, how it's controlled. That's what I'll say about the Cowies. I recommend approval. I would say that if anything comes up in the future that is a nuisance, that it be addressed at that time. They will readily fix anything that comes up, and I know that to be a fact. They are wonderful neighbors. All you have to do is approach them and talk to them about anything. So I'm a neighbor. I am separated by 35 acres from them. I go by there twice a day, in and out, and they are neighborly. So Thank you for your time.
Sue, if you could, you were 4369 County Road 98?
No, private road 188.
Private road.
Yeah, still on that same road that their address is on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My
And
hearing's terrible.
thanks staff for all the great information you have on the website. Thank you.
Okay. Any more comment, please?
Yeah, my name is Lee Braden. I'm at 46719 County Road 17.
Lee Rating?
Braden.
Brady, thank you,
B-R-A-D-E-N.
sorry.
You're fine. So I live right across the road from this proposed dog kennel. My main concern is the amount of noise, the traffic coming in and out of there. I hate to beg to differ, but we've seen their cows out on the road. So it's concerning that cows are a lot easier to contain than dogs that jump fences and so on and so forth. I know they're proposing a 6-foot cedar fence on 2 sides, but what about the rest of the property? Dogs can get out pretty easily there. They've already had instances from their last kennel of dogs getting dropped off, people getting bit. So this is all a very big concern of mine, and I don't want it next door. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone else? Go on up.
Hello, my name is Barbara Brickley. Can you hear me? Good, because we couldn't hear any of the tall people.
Barbara, pardon me, Barbara.
Brickley, B-R-I-C-K-L-E-Y. And I live at 3884 Longs Peak Circle, about 5-acre places away from the discussed property. Okay, so I am a retired woman who loves living in the country, and of course I love the peace and quiet, and everybody else has repeated that also. I walk my dog 2 miles around Mountain View every day, and so I know all the dogs, and I know the sounds, and I know the people, and I know just about everything. And I don't share secrets, so don't worry. But I'm concerned about several things. Number one, I like to do math in my head. So we're talking about 750 square feet devoted to these 30 animals, which is about 20 square feet per dog, which could be a 5x4 kennel. 5x4, that's not very big. That's like for a miniature dog. And that's if there are no halls, no feeding facilities, tables, refrigerators, or anything like that. So I can't believe that anybody would ever give them approval for 30 dogs. So it doesn't sound the least bit humane. I'm a dog lover and I have dogs. Number two, they already have the, emus, which are very quiet. Have you ever heard of those, or flock, or whatever it is? They already have cattle. And I personally have found their Scottish Highlander out on the County Road 17. And it took probably 30 minutes of my day to get their attention, even though they were home. They wouldn't answer the door or come to the driveway when I sat in the driveway and honked my horn. I had to go find another neighbor who had a number to text them, finally texted them, and then the gentleman, I presume the owner, finally came out. He was very disgusted with me. He took one look at me and said, "You can go." Not please or thank you. He said, "You can go." And his Highlander was still in the road. It was, by then I had shooted, it was grazing on the side, but he didn't care that his Scottish Highlander could kill someone when it was out on County Road 17. And so also, we have a serious problem of escaped dogs all over creation. We know that people there are the chickens to chase and the deer and the rabbits and all that. If people don't put an impervious base down, such as concrete, with maybe AstroTurf over it if they want to, if they aren't required to put an impervious base down and a 6-foot wire fencing with a top on it, which I've heard only screening, or a wood privacy fence, That's not going to do it. Every dog in the neighborhood almost has escaped at one time or another, including mine, just because somebody opened the door, and he's a runner. But he is trained to come right back when I go after him. So anyway, it's just, I cannot imagine 30 dogs in that inhumane or inhospitable environment.
Pardon me,
And
Chair,
I can't
that's 3
imagine them.
minutes.
I just can't imagine anything about it. It's just, if she says there are only going to be 8 dogs, get a license for 8 dogs. Thank you.
So, do you have any more comments? Hearing none. What I would ask now, maybe the applicant, because a couple of the letters in the application talked about noise, traffic, and primarily that was the thing, noise and traffic. If the applicant could please, you address some of those concerns in the application. If you could speak to those, please.
Yes. So we appreciate everyone's comments and concerns. We definitely hear them. I do want to note on one comment that was submitted online, my client has spoke with one of the neighbors, Serenity Stables, and they've agreed to coordinate schedules for outdoor time so that when the animals are outdoors, it does not interfere with any kind of meditation schedule.
Oh.
So they plan on keeping in communication every week. In regard to noise, this is an established business with experienced owners. They have another location, and they've never actually received noise complaints in the 10 years that they've been operating. The animals will not be outside beyond 9 p.m., and methods to mitigate barking will be used. Those are included in the packet, but these are professionals, and they're going to be able to mitigate barking. If it is peak season, they're not going to send all the dogs outside at the same time. So they're going to make sure to separate the dogs when they do have their outdoor time. But the dogs are not just going to be outside roaming freely. They're going to be contained and monitored whenever they're outside. As far as kenneling, that's all regulated with the PACFA license. So the size of the kennels, that is all regulated. There will be screening installed, I think was already touched on. There will be a 6-foot field fence that's already in place, and then a 6-foot cedar fence, which we believe will be adequate to maintain that outdoor area. And as far as traffic, these are not day trips necessarily. A lot of the clientele are dropping off their animals or scheduling them to be picked up while they're on vacation, so like a week at a time. So this is not daily trips that we're looking at here. And that is all I have.
You also stated something else in your application. I thought it was by appointment only.
Yes, correct. Thank you. This is not a traditional storefront, so customers are not going to be coming to and from the property freely. It is all by appointment only. It has to be scheduled. So if someone is dropping off their animal, it's by an appointment.
Okay. All right, if you could, please be available so we'll go around the horn with questions if you could. Okay? All right, go ahead. Start down there.
I naturally have a couple of questions if you don't mind coming back up. So
we're going to escape questions.
I was looking at this. Is it just a kennel facility? There's no breeding going on there?
Sorry, what?
No breeding?
No.
Okay. So what are the PACFA requirements for hygiene for a facility?
So if you need more details than what I can give you, my client is here because I'm not the expert at PACFA. But what I can tell you is that the cleaning materials are all going to be disposed in airtight containers until taken off site.
Okay. Yeah, I would kind of like to hear from the actual applicant, if you don't mind.
Hi, Graham Cowie.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Cowie.
Nice to meet you too.
As I'm going through this, I was looking at this going, okay, so Barbara, wherever you are, you actually did the math. It's 724 feet is about the approximate area of a quarter of the facility, and that makes it about 24 or 25 feet per animal. That's a pretty limited area for dogs to be confined over several areas or several days. And so the question becomes, you know, when you get them outside to exercise, is the outside area also regulated by PACFA?
So it is in terms of daily pickup of solid waste and hygienic disposal of such. PACFA also requires that when indoors, that the animals be crated, that they're not left to roam free around the dwelling. So
You're going to have to speak up just a little bit.
Sorry. So PACFA requires that the dogs are crated when they're indoors and they're not left to roam and mingle amongst themselves. So that particular area we've indicated is ample for that number of crates.
Okay, and the hygiene requirement?
Yes, so there's both hygiene requirements indoors and outdoors. Outdoors would require daily solid waste collection and disposal weekly. We would obviously do that at a minimum. Minimum would be 1 time per day solid waste pickup. And then indoors, we have a number of PACFA compliant sanitizing solutions in place to ensure that if PACFA does show up to do an inspection, that there's no issue.
Yeah, you jumped to my next question, which is how often will they come out for the inspection?
They don't
or
give
is it
you
random?
much warning, so we need to be prepared for that at any given point in time.
Great, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Go ahead. Tim? Mike?
I have a question. Very comprehensive application for a dog kennel for sure, but can you elaborate on the noise study that you have in the packet?
Yeah.
You did a decibel testing. The noise complaints were the biggest concern from the residents. I'd like to hear a little bit and have you elaborate on that noise study.
Absolutely. So we conducted a noise study, I believe it was in February, and it was fairly typical mild Colorado winter weather conditions. I believe the wind was blowing approximately 7 miles per hour in the normal kind of from west to east direction. And I used a decibel meter first off to gauge what the likely noise level would be at the location of the dog pens, the dog runs. And I used my SUV horn as a proxy, and measuring the decibel level, it was 90 decibels when I honked the horn. And a small dog would normally bark at 40 decibels, a medium 70 decibels. So we were certainly going well over what we would normally expect to occur. So I did several points of reference when I drove around and my wife honked the horn. I used the same decibel meter to measure the noise level at specific locations. The highest recorded decibel level I saw was 69 decibels, which for reference is approximately the same as an air conditioning unit from 6 feet away. And that was actually at Scott Frunn's driveway, so not even a residence, but a driveway on County Road 17. Several of the properties in the vicinity map, when the horn was activated, I couldn't hear it at all. And there was no registrable change in decibel level.
That's all I had. I just wanted to elaborate on that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Dee Dee.
I just have a couple comments also. I'm definitely a dog lover. Several people here are probably surprised I don't have her with me tonight. It might be the only time they've ever seen me without her. But my son and his girlfriend, they babysit dogs, and if I'm at their house and they have 5 dogs in that house, it's like total mayhem to me. But when they're all barking at one time, say if the doorbell goes off or something like that, it gets pretty loud. I understand you're asking for the 30 because that's a business evaluation, I would think. I am concerned about the number of dogs. I sense that you're probably not going to have that many dogs all together at one time.
No.
Because I don't care how much you love dogs, that's a lot of dogs. Okay? The other thing I'm concerned about is the house, I understand, is right there at the corner of the property. It would have been so much nicer like if you had another building that was like in the middle of your 35 acres or something. I know that's not what you have, but I think the neighbors would be a little bit better for it. In our area, we have dogs all over our area, and when we go, you know, if the neighbors, we're on 10-acre lots, but we can hear the dogs from 5 or 6 properties over. So I am sympathetic to the people who are upset about the barking.
I totally understand the concern. Can I respond to your observation?
Certainly.
So the 30 dogs, the reason we came up with that number is, first off, that's what PACFA allows as a maximum. So they kind of go per employee. So with my wife and I being 2 employees, 15 dogs per employee. So that's really the maximum. We certainly have the capacity, and we have the knowledge and experience from doing this for 10 years to certainly manage and handle that number of dogs. And as you alluded to earlier, we're not going to have 30 dogs all the time. We anticipate an approximate maximum 10% of the time we would be trying to get to that kind of capacity. The rest of the time, it would be more in that 4 to 8 animal range. And additionally, you know, that's kind of how we pay our bills. Like, my wife and I do this full time.
Yeah, and I get the business part about it. But I just think if you could start off a little less dogs and try to figure out how to maybe build something in the middle of the property, I think your neighbors would be a lot happier about that. So I am very sensitive to that. And I guess, you know, we can give you the 30, but because of I understand how they do that, but
I mean, am I correct in thinking that there is redress and recourse, and if there is a noise complaint, there are avenues to do that through, so that, you know, we would be able to respond if that was ever an issue?
Yeah, okay, well, I just think that it would be good to, if you see all your neighbors are very concerned, I would just do everything in my power to mitigate any of their concerns and you know, try to, you know, make them a little happier. You know, we need our neighbors.
Totally agree. And I hope our neighbors would feel free to reach out, and so that we can address any concerns real time.
Okay, and sounds like you got a little fence mending with one of the neighbors already, so.
So I remember one occasion we had a little steer that got out. He kind of busted through the barbed wire fence there. Didn't break it, but he was on the small side. And I don't remember being anything but gracious to the individual who alerted me to the animal being out.
Thank you.
Thank you so
for
much.
answering those questions.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
One more quick one. What is the redress procedure, Mark, if there is a noise complaint, and how would that be handled from the county's perspective?
Thank you, Mark Dedrier, Director of Community and Economic Development. Typically, the county operates in a complaint-driven type model. So if there is concern about noise, there's a couple vehicles, if you will. One would be to file a complaint through zoning compliance. If decibel levels exceed what one might perceive to be the state max level, then the sheriff's office is also another avenue for folks to file a complaint with regard to noise.
Just as a comment or an aside, there is no zoning compliance officer now, so who would this be referred to? Back to the sheriff's department?
So at present, there is not a zoning compliance official. We are actually in the process of securing support in this area, which could be a matter of weeks, a handful of weeks before that service can be reinstated at the county level. So if complaints exist, then those things can still be issued and filed with us. And then when the zoning compliance official comes on board, then they can start taking those cases and investigating.
So could be weeks, could be months, and then there's a backlog that the zoning and compliance officer would go after. And so we'd be talking about potentially 6 months after and I'm doing worst case scenario, 6 months after the complaint's filed, you actually might get a response.
It's hard to say, with any accuracy to the exact length of time that you've suggested. But when that official is in place, then they will look at the list and start knocking it out.
Or they go after the ones that are barking the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I have one other thing to ask. Is it possible for us to recommend that, say we do a lesser amount of animals to start with, and if we can go 6 months and everybody in the neighborhood is okay, then they could bump up to the maximum that they have been asking for? Is there any means of us being able to do that, just to?
That would be up to you as the Planning Commission in terms of putting forth a condition, let's say, of approval, if you like, in that recommendation that you put forward to the Board of County Commissioners.
And sir, how would you feel about that?
I mean, we're definitely interested in maximizing on the few occasions where we are busy, and I think our track record speaks for itself in terms of being able to handle dogs in our care at our previous business with not a single noise complaint in 10 years.
And that other area that you're in currently, is it in a residential area? Is it?
So it's in Highlands Ranch, and we were PACFA approved for 16 animals there.
For 16?
16, yes.
Okay, and And are their neighbors close or no?
Oh, yes.
Okay, well. And you've been there for a long time?
Yes.
10 years, you said?
So started in 2014.
Okay, well,
I do have one final question. You pointed out an area in the yard that the dogs would exercise in. That's all fenced off, right?
It is. So it's currently fenced. So there's pipe cattle fencing reinforced with 6-foot field fencing and 6-foot chain link fence currently. The addition of the 6-foot cedar fencing would be to facilitate additional screening.
All around the dog exercise area?
Certainly what was being proposed in our application was to the west and the north.
So not the dog exercise area?
Yep, the dog exercise area to the west and the north.
You point out, if you go to the picture,
yeah,
there's a rendering that shows like a rectangular area that the dogs would exercise.
Yep.
I'm asking if that entire rectangle is fenced off.
So,
there you go, the outdoor area for animals.
So this does look like it is due north. So what's being proposed there is approximately where that red dot is, and then north to the corner there, and then all the way along to the east there. So the natural grade really screens anything to the south, and then those outbuildings and the grade kind of screen everything to the east.
So it's not completely fenced off?
So the area is fenced. We're just talking about the additional screening. Okay. So it's fenced and secured. The additional screening would be partial, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may add one item as it pertains to complaints. When an SUR, a special use by review permit, is issued, it can be reviewed on an annual basis, and if there are complaints that persist, then there's action there that can be taken to where the case can come back and be heard again.
okay, that's what I'm looking
It
for.
should be an annual review on the SUR, and any complaint should be noted in the application. Because an SUR is always in a pending application. Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark, that's what I was looking for.
One last question, if I could, Danny.
Oh, go right ahead.
Signage. I know what the packet says about signage. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on signage. I know some of the residents nearby are concerned about their property values. I would be concerned about signage if I was them.
Yeah, not really considering any signage at this time. I understand there is a separate application for signage. We're by appointment only. We have an existing client base. We're not trying to attract anyone who's passing by. So really, signage at this point would be somewhat redundant, and we don't see the need to have that addition at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I think you got your question answered, Dee Dee, that we do an annual review on every SUR. That's required. And everything's related back to the complaints received. So, it's supposed to be.
I think we should probably make it a condition of approval.
Okay, write a condition. Give me a condition.
So an annual special use by review occurs for this specific SUR 2024-4167.
Okay, so we're repeating code. Okay.
I think we make it a condition because
you can't regulate anything as a planning commission, but you can recommend that they conduct an annual review based on the conditions in the current codes. How's that?
Mr. Chair, would you like us then to craft a condition of approval?
right there, based on current code. It's a recommendation that based on current code, you comply with that code in reviewing annually. You guys okay with that? And that's only a recommendation because we can't regulate anything. So what that goes forward to the board, and all you're doing is emphasizing what's in the code already.
Yeah,
And that doesn't limit your number of things. That just requires, actually, essentially emphasizes the statement that's in the code that SURs are reviewed annually.
I want to note that we were anticipating that anyway.
Were you?
Yes.
Good. All SURs are, and they should have given you that in the application process. So
Yes.
Yeah, but that should make the neighbors feel a lot better, right?
good.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the perspective of the fact that we don't have that zoning compliance officer.
Okay, how many dog kennels are in this county? Because I don't know how many I've gone through. Yeah. Mark, do you know how many dog kennels we have in this county?
I don't, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anyway, so you got the condition.
Danny, I can tell you that we've got at least 10.
Okay. Whoops.
Thank you. Bear with us. We're coming up with that language for your consideration.
Okay. That sound good, you guys? Okay. Let's call for a vote.
Make a motion that we recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners to approve SUR, whatever it is, 24, 4167, is that right?
Okay, with the updated conditions.
With the updated conditions.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have any other discussion? No, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Were we unanimous here? Wendy, it was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, what time is it? Break. Folks, about a 5-10 minute break. How's that? Yeah.
I believe so. I believe so, yes. But here you can put your name, your address, and topic. You could just put EC East.
Okay.
Okay? Unless there's a specific one, the PUD or the wreath of the flag.
Yep.
Mr. Buck?
Okay, could we please all take our seats and we'll get started for the second half of 3. That last one took quite a bit longer than I expected because we're sitting at, I'll just give you folks a heads up. We will end this thing at 11, okay? That's in our rules, plus that's past my bedtime. So we will end it, and then we will pick up the next day where we left off. So we will pick up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So we're at the point where now we're hearing EC East PUD, the EC East preliminary plat, and then we have the EC East service plans, which is a big presentation because I saw my friend here who was back there. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if we'll get to you tonight. However, so what I would like to do is I would ask, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, please. If we could, I would like to have the PUD presented and the preliminary plat. The PUD will include the zoning change, and I would like to have the preliminary plat presented both by staff and the applicant. And then at that point, once we have those two, because those will each require a separate vote, but once we have those done, then we will go to questions, citizen comments, and see, because I assume that we will have a few, although I am kind of surprised that the room has lessened. Okay. So, is that right, Mark?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, if we could, let's start with the EC East PUD, and I believe how are you?
I'm ready to speak. I'm shorter than Mark, so hopefully you can hear me. Good evening, Chairman and Commission members. My name is Sandra Hoffman. I'm a senior associate with Logan Simpson, and I'm a land use planner for the Elbert County Community Economic Development Department. So today, as you're aware, we're going to be hearing both cases, the PUD case as well as the preliminary plat for EC East. The zoning request is rezoning from agriculture to PUD as well as that preliminary plat. It's about 1,290 acres, and it's on the northeast corner of the intersection of County Road 166 and Kiowa Bennett Road. There it goes. On the screen is the landowner. The current review numbers for the PUD and the preliminary plat are up there. There was a pre-application meeting held in October of 2022. There was also a community meeting held May 16th of 2023. And also there's been a series of referrals to a variety of different agencies that I'll go through in a few minutes to get feedback on the proposals. And as you're aware, tonight is the Planning Commission hearing, and there was the notices that were sent out as appropriate per the regulations to have it in the Ranchland News and the 1,320-foot radius mailings, as well as signs posted on the property. The vicinity map up there on the screen is showing you the overall general location of where the project is. It's kind of that darker black kind of unique shape on the screen for you to see that. And the project is generally located in the northeast intersection of County Road 166 and Kiowa Bennett Road. It's approximately 15 miles northeast of the town of Elizabeth, 8.5 miles north of the town of Kiowa, and 21 miles southeast of the town of Parker. This aerial kind of shows some contours and the project site, which is in yellow, and it also shows some ownership lines, lot lines, and then drainage with a little bit of the blue line showing drainage areas. So the surrounding zoning around and uses around the site, basically there's agriculture and residential open land, and so predominantly it's open land and rural residential uses surrounding the proposed area. This is the PUD rezoning map. So what we did, if you kind of look back here a second, that map graphic is north-south oriented. Well, with all the rest of the graphics, we tipped it on its side. So the bottom's going to be Kiowa Bennett Road. So if you're trying to orient yourself, Kiowa Bennett Road's on the bottom part of the screen. Sorry, County Road 53 is on the north. County Road 178 is going to be on the left, and 166 is on the right side. So just trying to get you oriented. It's just a way to fit everything on the screen so you can see it, just because of the very unique shape of that property. As listed up there, it shows the maximum number of dwelling units, and there's a variety of different uses that I'll go through a little bit further in more detail regarding the inclusion of it. The one thing about the PUD rezoning case is to notice that the green areas are residential based. Then there's kind of a pinkish, light pinkish color, which is more it's commercial. And in the bottom right corners where the industrial uses would be proposed. And in the very top right corner is where the proposed school site would be. There was a variety of different referrals that were sent out. There's a list on the screen there showing you all of those that were given an opportunity to provide comments for both the PUD as well as the preliminary plat. All of the comments have been addressed except the Colorado Division of Water Resources and the concern about water, which the applicant will be addressing, and there is a condition included as a part of the PUD rezoning as well in the preliminary plat that will address the water issue for the two cases. The review criteria for a PUD. So basically, it shows that after doing evaluation, and you'll see in further slides, that it meets the zoning regulations as well as the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. So one of the review criteria, the authorization that allows the PUD to happen, which allows flexibility in zoning. It's not a standard district that has standards that are outlined in the zoning ordinance. This gives an applicant a chance to actually create the use list and the district standards that they would follow. And it does have authority in the Colorado state statutes for them to do a plan unit development. So for the review criteria for a PUD, there's actually 6 of them. And one of the first ones, obviously, is showing how it's consistent with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. And within the comprehensive plan, there's a lot of goals, and there's multiple categories. So these are grouped into categories. The first category in the comprehensive plan is land use. And I won't go through all of the ones listed up there, but basically it talks about a variety of different land use items, including the development's going to cover the cost of roads and utilities. It's going to provide commercial activity and service centers. It's going to integrate economic development into the community. And there was 11 of them that were met for land use. Community resources, there's quite a few that, when you look at the goals that are in the comprehensive plan, that are met by the EC East project. Striving to provide public and community resources, services, and facilities, working together for the proposal as they have done, supporting the Sheriff's Department and providing some funding for fire protection, and obviously helping to support schools. And then those continue. There's 8 more, so there's actually a total, I think, of 17 of the community resource goals that are being met. And it notes that, again, all the federal and state road standards shall be met. The special district's going to be created to manage all of the improvements that are going to be included in that project. And it'll conform to all state laws regarding the domestic water and septic system supplies, and parks and open spaces, as we'll go over later. They'll be meeting those conditions. The natural resources goals in the comprehensive plan are being met, including 9 of them, which relate to agricultural lands and open space having minimal impacts. Wastewater systems, they're going to be doing some recycling and potable water and non-potable water and effluent treatment, so there's a mixture of systems are being proposed. The preservation of significant vegetation and weed control has also been addressed. So they have met a lot of the different requirements that are in the comprehensive plan. Natural resources, again, continuing stewardship of critical ecosystems and ensuring that there's renewable energy is being supported in there. So there's a variety of different things, again, in the natural resources goals of the comprehensive plan that are being met by EC East. Economic development and recreation and tourism are two other criteria included in the comprehensive plan, and there's 4 of the economic development goals that are being met, including providing a balance between commercial and residential assessments, encouraging an expansion of industrial economic base, so having that industrial area in there supports that. Also minimizing impacts to surrounding lands, and again helping with commerce, industry, education, tourism, residential growth. And then for recreation, again, is publicly accessible open space and working with developers to for public trail system. So within the PUD criteria also, there's, again, of the 6 of them, it's compatible with surrounding land uses. As already described, there's agricultural open space, rural residential currently, but they're going to be providing landscape buffers along the perimeter of their project. They are clustering the residential and commercial development and the industrial, and they're providing a minimum 50% open space. Number 3 of the criteria for PUD, it's not going to adversely impact the public services. And again, with that, it's that they're helping with the Kiowa School District and the Fire District, the Sheriff's Office. They're doing improvements to internal and external roadways, providing circulation, multimodal circulation with pedestrian, bike, walkers, and so on. And they will be managing and describing, I'm sure, their central water and wastewater system. And number 4, it won't adversely impact the environment. So their main principle for EC East is conservation-minded communities. It's got at least 50% open space. They're going to work with the topography, and they'll be wildlife friendly. The proposed rezoning will not create unreasonable traffic congestion. There's 14 access points that are going to manage traffic flow in and out of the project. There's a trail system that'll circulate throughout the EC East project. There was a traffic impact study done, and the comments have been addressed by the applicant. And then again, the collector and local roads will be operated and maintained by the district. And the 6th criteria for PUD, it will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Again, the uses they've identified won't contribute to air pollution or noise. They are preserving 50% of the open space. They have landscape buffers, and their dark sky lighting, they'll minimize lighting pollution. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission find the following. The proposed rezoning is in general conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposed rezoning meets all the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations. The proposed rezoning meets the requirements for a PUD. The zoning will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners in the surrounding area. It will be compatible with the surrounding land uses. It will not adversely impact public services. It will not adversely impact the environment, and will not result in significant impact, again, to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners in the surrounding area. So the Community Economic and Development Department recommends that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners for the EC East PUD rezoning located in the northeast corner of County Road and 166 and Kiowa Bennett Road with 3 conditions, with the zone cases PD 2023-6327. The 3 conditions would be the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of the Board of County Commissioners hearing. And number 2, it's a long one, but the developer must demonstrate that the Board of County Commissioners has approved the service plan for one or more proposed metropolitan districts authorized to provide the water within the plat boundary area no later than 1 year from the date of resolution approving the preliminary plat, or provide the county with a proposed financing plan demonstrating capacity to construct the water infrastructure and serve the community shown on the plat no later than 18 months after the preliminary plat is approved. And the third condition is that the development guide agreement is completed and acceptable to the county attorney in final form. With that, that's all that I have for the plan unit development. Would you like me to start the plat presentation?
Mark, would that be the best way to go about it? You go through both parts, and then the applicant go through both parts?
Yes, that would be the recommendation. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right. Please, then.
The fan is blowing my papers, sorry, as I'm trying to grab them from floating. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman and Commission members. The EC, oh, should be EC East. I'm not sure. Sorry, that was. So EC East, this is bizarre. We've checked it multiple times. Sorry about that. 2024-6327, the Planning Commission case for the plat. The plat here is showing cluster development and open space. It shows you in a very high level kind of the platting of the lots and kind of how they would be laid out. It also shows the roadway systems for right-of-way that will be created through the project. The exhibit here is basically showing you that there's a variety of different kind of lot types. So there'll be single-family detached that are standard lots. There's going to be smaller single-family lots, single-family attached and townhouse lots, multi-family product, as well as commercial and industrial platted properties. This is a landscape exhibit, and the landscape exhibit shows you the lighter green, which is the area that they'll preserve the landscaping that exists, and the darker green, slightly darker, is where they're going to restore the prairie area. There's the parkway collectors, where it's kind of like a darker green along the roadway system, where they're going to have a 100-foot wide landscape strip along the roadways, and enhanced darker landscaping at the entrances, like those 14 entrances that go into the EC East project. The land use table shows basically the area table identifying the amount of land that's going to be included for residential, commercial, industrial, and a potential school site. This table here basically is showing you the percent of area of land for each of the uses. And what it shows is that the parks and open space is 50% with over 645 acres of the property, and residential is almost 36% with 459 acres. And again, the maximum number of units is 2,450 with about 1.9 dwelling units per acre. So doing the review criteria for the preliminary plat, it meets Article 4 and 11 of the Elbert County Subdivision Regulations. One of the key things is having a conservation community with a minimum 50% open space, which is they do meet that. They will be creating a special district that will maintain and keep in perpetuity the open space that is being shown on their plans. Housing requirements have been met, again, with the density, with the conservation community, and the idea would be to have a variety of different housing types, as was described previously, to offer a variety of different affordability options for people that would want to live in the community. So staff recommends that the Planning Commission find the following. The proposed preliminary plat is in general conformance with the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposed plat meets all the criteria for the Elbert County zoning regulations and the PUD. It meets the requirements of the subdivision regulations. It will not result in impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents, landowners in the surrounding area. The preliminary plat has provided evidence to establish a public sewer, and that will meet all laws and regulations. The soil conditions require special precautions, so they're going to address that as a condition that I will describe as part of the approval. So Community Economic Development Department recommends the Planning Commission recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners for EC East, located in the northeast of County Road 166 and Kiowa Bennett Road, subject to 5 conditions. The 5 conditions include the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a Board of County Commissioner hearing. The plat will not become effective until all fees are paid and all conditions are met. Number 3 is the same as what was included as a condition for the PUD rezoning, basically demonstrating that the Board of County Commissioners has approved a service plan for one or more metropolitan district to provide water within the preliminary plat, or provide the county with a proposed financing plan demonstrating capacity to construct the water infrastructure and serve the community, shown on the plat no later than 18 months after the preliminary plat is approved. The subdivision improvement agreement must be completed and acceptable to the county attorney in final form prior to the final plat going to public hearing. And number 5 is no building or driveway permit shall be allowed on a slope of 20% or greater or areas currently subject to flooding prior to grading without the applicant submitting a special engineering feasibility study to the building department with a building permit application. The study shall show that the feasibility of the site to be engineered to allow the construction of the site impacted by the excessive slope and what methods will be utilized. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Sandra, thank you. At this time, I think we'll ask the applicant if you could present, please.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. Do we need the puck? Can we switch to our PowerPoint?
The little puck.
We've had all this time to prepare. There we go. Okay, we ready? My name's Jim Yates with Kraft Companies. I want to thank you for your time tonight. I know it's been a long evening. I'll start with introducing our team. So I have Carolyn White here with me with Brownstein. She's our land use attorney. Bruce Lytle with Lytle Water Solutions. He's our water engineer. Chris McGranahan with LSC Transportation. He's our traffic engineer and planner. Andrew Knutson with Economic and Planning Systems for our economic analysis. Dave Takeda with MSK. He's our water engineer on the facilities side. Brian Hart is our civil engineer, and Susan Wade, both with Redland. Susan's our landscape architect and planner. We also have Marie Russo with ERO Resources, who does our environmental studies, and Diane Miller, who is not here tonight, but she's part of our team that is our district counsel. She did not anticipate us getting to her tonight. So Kraft Companies is proposing to a master plan community on Kiowa Bennett Road that will integrate multiple concepts, is that too loud? In the design, including phased infrastructure, amenities, dining, retail, where communities can come together to shop, dine, and socialize. This allows us to plan for growth in the area, including roads, schools, safety, and fire protection. Project is located in the county's comprehensive master plan growth area in the northwest quadrant, as well as the economic development zone overlay on Kiowa Bennett Road. This provides an excellent opportunity to build a foundation to attract new jobs, retail sales, and commercial opportunities. Our smart growth approach utilizes the basic tenets of a LID or low impact development process, including water conservation, dark sky compliance, except where it conflicts with safety, stormwater integration, walkability, and clustering of homes in tight-knit neighborhoods to establish a well-rounded, efficient community. The open space will contain larger contiguous tracts around the neighborhoods for easier access, integrating outdoor activities, wildlife corridors, and extensive trail systems. We continue to remain committed to dedicating a minimum of 50% of our open space to allow nature to guide the overall planning process. We've worked hard to design a community that is compatible, not identical, to the surrounding areas, balancing existing conditions with future needs identified in the county's master plan. Our water conservation and water reuse are cornerstones of our core principles. As you will see later in the presentation, water reuse is integrated into the design up front and plays an important role in serving outdoor demands across the project. The reuse water will be treated at the state's highest recommended level and piped back to the homes for outdoor water use. Lastly, we'll phase our development starting with infrastructure and utilities over the next several years, bringing in residential lots thereafter with amenities and retail as the market demands dictate. With that, I'll turn it over to Carolyn.
Do you want to turn the slides for me, or do you want to hand me the computer? Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, members of county staff, and members of the public. My name is
Could you
Carolyn
get the mic
White.
a little
I'm Land Use
closer?
Counsel for the applicant. A little closer.
Please, thank you.
Try again. Good evening, everyone. Carolyn White. I'm Land Use Counsel for the applicant, and I'll be presenting some details about the project and about how it meets the criteria. We thank you for the opportunity to present our application to you tonight. As was already described, we're here to present to you two companion applications, one for the PUD, the rezoning to planned unit development, and one for the subdivision preliminary plat. There are other components of this application. As you're aware, we have a service plan application, which is a separate presentation following this one. And also, as part of this package, we have a development agreement that was referenced by staff in one of the conditions of approval, and we have been working with the county attorney's office to develop that development agreement in conjunction with this application, and it will be finalized by the timeline that was described. As was mentioned, we've complied with all the published, posted, and mailed notice, and we, of course, are requesting that you recommend approval. I want to just briefly, for the benefit potentially of some of the members of the public here tonight, mention a little bit about exactly what a PUD type rezoning is, as was mentioned previously. A PUD is custom zoning. It's not like one of the standard zone districts that's in your county code, A1, A2, commercial, residential 1, etc. PUD is customized specifically to the site that it is designed for. And as such, a PUD, like the one we're proposing tonight, contains in it all of the standards, all of the allowed uses, all of the densities, all of the heights that have been customized specifically for that site. What that allows is for a way to have this PUD support the rural atmosphere that it's being folded into, and yet still meet all of the requirements of the code and develop and put forward the vision that was just described by Jim a moment ago. The preliminary plat, the companion application, is the beginning of dividing the site up into separate lots and separate parcels that can be developed and conveyed. So we have the preliminary plat now. We come back later and do the final plat. That's the one that actually creates the lots and dedicates the roadways and the easements. So just wanted to describe that a little bit for the members of the public. The next slide. So Sandra just summarized these criteria very nicely. We're going to go through some description about the project and then come back and talk about how the project meets each of these criteria. There's a couple things I just want to highlight on this slide. Of course, both the PUD and the plat require that the project be consistent with the master plan. And so we will be talking a little bit about the comprehensive master plan of the county and how this project furthers the goals that are set forth in that master plan. And both of them talk about compatibility with surrounding land uses. And when we talk about compatibility, which I suspect we'll talk about a fair bit, we don't mean that this project is the same as everything that's around it. Rather, compatibility by definition means how two things which are not the same can nonetheless coexist in harmony with each other. And we'll show you how we have designed this project to do just that, to coexist in harmony with the rural landscape that surrounds it, by designing these very large buffer areas, by designing these very large contiguous open space areas and clustering the development together in the places where it makes the most sense, such as along Kiowa Bennett Road. Next slide. As you all know, Elbert County subdivision regulations include two different kinds of PUD subdivisions. You can have conventional residential development, or you can have the conservation community. What we're proposing here is the conservation community. Two of the key characteristics of the conservation community include 50% or more of open space, which we have committed to, and clustering the residential development together in smaller lots where the development is constrained and contained in the areas where it makes the most sense for it to be located, and for that minimizes the need to construct infrastructure to serve it in a more diffuse, spread out kind of way. That also allows that 50% to be dedicated as parks, trails, wildlife habitats, corridors, landscaped areas, or other types of natural open space. So as we'll describe tonight, by pursuing this conservation community, the applicant is really creating a higher quality community that will provide greater open space and natural opportunities for the residents and for the residents of the county at large. The next slide. So this slide and the next slide are summarizing the preliminary plat criteria. Again, these have already been presented to you, so I won't belabor them in too much detail. But I want to mention just a couple of things about this. Of course, there is the requirement to demonstrate a water supply, and Elbert County expands on the state requirement, expanding it to a 300-year water supply. We're going to present to you some information demonstrating that that water supply requirement has been met. As I mentioned on the next slide, we also are going to talk about compatibility and conformance with the comprehensive master plan, the comprehensive plan, and so on. And then in addition to these criteria, there's actually two criteria that are just applied to all development applications that aren't set forth as separate criteria. And that is whether the project is suitable for the community and area where it's proposed, and whether the community and area in which the project is proposed has the resources to support it. So this would be things like public services, infrastructure, law enforcement, schools, roads, fire protection, and other public services. And as part of our presentation, we'll talk to you a little bit about how we're going to be ensuring that all of those services are going to be more than adequate to serve this new development. Now, next slide. So you've already seen roughly the vicinity of where the project is located. I'm going to just expand on that a little bit here. On the right-hand side, you can see in the very light yellow is EC East, and as Sandra already described, Kiowa Bennett Road runs north-south, and EC East itself is kind of a long, skinny shape running north-south. Most of our graphics are going to turn it sideways, just like her presentation did, and show you Kiowa Bennett Road running along the bottom of the screen. On this slide, what we're showing you is, this is an excerpt from the county's comprehensive plan, which essentially says that part of the goal of the comprehensive plan is to direct the majority of new residential development towards this segment of the county, this box in the upper northwest corner here. And as you can see, that's exactly where EC East is located. It's consistent with that overall goal. And the darker gold boxes on this slide on the right-hand side are showing some of the other developments that are planned or have recently been approved. So you can see how the county's goals of clustering development in this segment of the county are coming to fruition through the comprehensive plan. Next slide. So speaking of compliance with the comprehensive plan, since that is a criteria for both the PUD and the plat, we thought we'd start off with that. In the comprehensive plan, it's divided up into 5 different topic areas. 2 of them are listed here on this slide: land use and community resources. Sandra already covered most of these goals. We picked out some of the same goals that this project furthers in the comprehensive plan. But again, there's a couple things I just would like to highlight. One of the comprehensive plan's land use goals is to increase a diverse range of lot sizes, residential densities, and price points. And that's exactly what's being proposed here with EC East. We've got single-family detached, we've got clustered single-family attached, and multifamily housing opportunities. So this creates that variety of home sizes, which in turn is a variety of price points, and that is in furtherance of that first goal under land use. We're also, of course, proposing clustered development patterns, which in turn, when you look at the overall density of this area, has the potential to support some commercial areas. And the county has articulated a goal of developing some commercial and economic development along this corridor along Kiowa Bennett Road. And so by creating an increased diversity of both housing types and densities and services and industries, the project will provide additional housing, employment, and economic opportunities for both current and future Elbert County residents. Second category of the comp plan, community resources. Some of the goals of the comp plan are listed on the right side of this screen, providing road improvements, forming special districts to provide water and wastewater services. This project is going to be developing a new state-of-the-art water and wastewater facility, which we'll be explaining to you in just a little bit more detail, and will support public safety services by including, of course, payment of fees or land dedication for the local sheriff's department, fire protection district, and public schools. Next slide. The last three categories in the comprehensive plan: natural resources, economic development, and recreation and tourism. This project will serve and further the goals in all three of these categories, and some of them are listed here. As mentioned, the county has identified Kiowa Bennett Road as a priority corridor in which to establish a mix of uses to provide much needed community services, industry, jobs, and housing. And when we talk about the PUD master plan, we'll show you here in just a minute how the commercial areas are laid out in conformance with that goal along the Kiowa Bennett Road priority corridor there. Obviously, we've mentioned that the project will dedicate a minimum of 50% of the property as reserved open space. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, but one of the things that clustering allows us to do is that the open space is going to be larger, more contiguous areas of open space that can function as habitat corridors and be much more usable and functional open space compared to if we followed traditional open space models and it was more chopped up and distributed throughout the project. And then another comment or question that frequently comes up when we talk about open space: it is definitely going to be open to the public. The recreational trails, all of that is going to be operated and managed by the Metropolitan District. This will be public open space. And so that furthers some of the goals set forth under the recreation and tourism category in the comprehensive plan. Next slide. So speaking about the goals of housing stock diversity that I mentioned in the comprehensive plan, we thought it might be worthwhile to delve just a little bit more deeply into the housing portion of this project. In 2022, as I'm sure you're all aware, Elbert County conducted a housing needs assessment to help inform the decision-making and long-term strategic planning for Elbert County on the topic of housing. The assessment found a severe housing scarcity with less than 2% housing availability compared to the needs of Elbert County. The assessment also found that Elbert County is experiencing steady long-term growth, estimated growth in population 1.89% over 20 years. This project has a phased development plan over a 25-year period. So for example, when you look at that graph on the right side of the screen there, you see the red dashed line in the second phase of the project, or in years, I can't read those numbers, I think it's 2030 to 2035. That dashed red line shows what the demand study would indicate is the housing need overall for the county. And the blue box at the bottom indicates roughly how many units we can anticipate this project could deliver at that time, which is 691. So it certainly doesn't meet all of the needs of the county, but not by a long shot. It is a step in the right direction of meeting the needs of the county, particularly when you look in combination with other housing developments that are being contemplated throughout the county. So this is a measure towards achieving the goals set forth in the comprehensive plan and set forth in the housing needs assessment. And as you look at the phases of the project as it develops over time, you can see how the subsequent phases come closer to meeting that ultimate goal that the county has determined. Next slide. Another important goal in the housing needs assessment and in the comprehensive plan is diversity of housing stock and housing affordability. And diversity, of course, and density are two of the ways that you can achieve housing affordability by providing a wider variety of housing types including, as I mentioned, single-family attached product types and multifamily. So this project, EC East, will help the county achieve those goals by providing a variety of single-family detached, clustered single-family attached, and multifamily housing, a variety of home sizes and price points. Even before that 2022 housing needs assessment, the county had recognized the need to try to achieve some of these housing goals. In the 2009 version of the comprehensive plan, it specifically talks about some of these needs for housing diversity and additional density. As I mentioned, one of the PUD approval criteria, of course, is compatibility. And compatibility refers to two things that are not exactly the same, but which can coexist. One of the things that this project works very hard to do is to design it so that it will be compatible and can harmoniously coexist with the rural and rural residential and agricultural properties that are located around it. So next slide. So with that, let's look at the project itself. As was already mentioned, this is the shape of EC East. It's 1290 acres. It'll be mixed-use residential, commercial, and industrial. Total of up to 2450 homes, 48 acres of commercial, 49 acres of industrial, and hundreds of acres of parks, trails, and open space. As defined in the zoning regulation, conservation communities are characterized by these large amounts of common open space, and at least 50% of the property will be dedicated for open space. The project is going to be built in phases over at least 25 years. At full build-out, the project is anticipated to be home to about 6,500 residents. We want to highlight also how, even though it's a separate presentation tonight, including the metropolitan districts really provides the opportunity to construct all of the infrastructure necessary to meet all of the demands created by this new project, and thus avoiding burdens on existing county infrastructure and other providers of services. Next slide. This project is obviously going to rezone to PUD. It's currently agriculture. The allowed uses listed in the PUD are generally categorized as residential, commercial, retail, industrial, parks and open space. There is a potential school site and community services such as police and fire. And as shown on this map, the residential uses are provided throughout and across the whole entire development, with the commercial uses clustered in the center and the western portion of the property, and industrial and commercial uses clustered towards the southwest corner of the property. You can see a potential school site in the southeast corner of the property in kind of a bluish color. On this graphic, it's in the top right. But if you turn the graphic sideways the way it really is, north-south, it would be in the bottom right. So this is intended to depict the general locations. When we get, as the phases evolve, of course, as each final plat comes forward, the precise lot lines and the precise geography of each of these areas will be delineated and created into actual parcels. But this shows roughly where the sites are intended to be located. And they're intended to flow generally with the existing topography, which also brings it into conformance with one of the criteria. Next slide. Another important component of the PUD is the PUD guide. The PUD guide is a document that is embedded within the PUD, and it sets forth in a great amount of detail the standards that will be applicable to all of the development within the PUD guide. So in addition to setting forth the permitted uses and densities and building heights and setbacks, there are also included a whole host of standards, things like materiality and building materials and vision and architecture and the requirements for signage, requirements for lighting, requirements for infrastructure, requirements for programming of the parks and open space. And the purpose of all these standards is to ensure that all of the development that happens within the PUD carries forth the vision and is consistent with the community character that's been set forth, both in your code and in your comprehensive plan and in the PUD itself. And so that's things like the conservation community, the preservation, the clustered neighborhoods, but also things like responsible water use, the trail network. This community, as Jim mentioned, is going to be dark sky friendly. We've got requirements for downcast lighting and so on, and ultimately to ensure that all of this will be consistent with the rural atmosphere that surrounds it and that we're trying to create and protect. Next slide. An important component of this is the trails and open space. And there are a couple different kinds of trails and open space that will be located in here. In some places, we will be preserving native prairie grasses and wildlife corridors. In other places, we will be restoring, after construction has occurred or after grading has occurred, prairie grasses. There will be meandering pedestrian trails that will follow the natural terrain and connect from one amenity to the next and connect the commercial nodes to the residential nodes so that people can get around within this area without having to use a car if they wanted to. This also minimizes environmental impacts and brings it into conformance with another one of the criteria, no adverse environmental impacts on either the land itself or the surrounding areas. As a conservation community, the goal here is not just to dedicate 50% open space and say, hey, here's the open space, but to have this open space be integrated with natural habitat and functional, usable open space so that it can accommodate both wildlife and recreational uses and connect the residential and commercial amenities throughout this project. There will be hundreds of acres dedicated to parks, trails, and open space, and all of these will be accessible and open to the public. Next slide. The PUD and the plat will use the natural landforms to guide where the development's going to go and where the open space is going to go, and that's why I say the shape and delineation of these might change slightly when we get to the final plat, but the general concept will follow the contours of what's shown here, and that, as always, it will be a minimum of 50% open space. On this map, you can see red, yellow, and blue lines. Those are depicting the different kinds of trails. The red is a collector trail, the yellow is an arterial trail, and then there's open space trails, which will be more meandering, experiential trails. You can also see some different colors of green. The darker green circles represent proposed neighborhood parks, pocket parks, or trail nodes that'll be located in appropriate areas where they'll get the most active use. And the lighter green represents those more natural areas, restored prairie and habitat type areas. This will provide not only recreational benefits, but also provide easy access throughout the development and connecting to the surrounding areas. Next slide. So this is the preliminary plat site plan, which also shows on the right, you can see the legend. The green is preservation and restoration. The red is the potential commercial and retail. Purple is industrial. There's a potential school site there in the top right corner, and then the yellow shows the residential. And you can see how the neighborhoods are clustered together in the center area. Another thing you can see on this graphic is that there are significant buffer areas on the perimeter of the property to the east, which is on the top of this picture. The distance between the first residential yellow area and the property line is significant. And that's by intention to, again, create some buffering between this project and the adjacent properties. Let's see, celebrating the natural habitat of Elbert County is at the heart of this project, and these clustered development patterns will achieve Elbert County's rural smart growth goals. So I'd now like to introduce Bruce Lytle from Lytle Water Solutions to provide an overview of the project's previously adjudicated 300-year water supply and the state-of-the-art water and wastewater resource system. As Bruce will show, the water demand generated by EC East will cause a negligible increase in the overall water demand in the Denver Basin supply. He's got a microphone.
Okay. Thank you, Caroline. And good evening, commissioners. What I want to do is just talk about the water supply that's proposed for EC East. The water is going to be from the Denver Basin, groundwater basin. All of the water beneath the property has been approved by the Colorado Groundwater Commission, and that adjudicated water, just by state statute, is based on a 100-year supply. And so based on what was approved by the Groundwater Commission, we have allocated that based on Elbert County's requirement for the 300-year supply. And in addition to allocating that water over 300 years rather than 100 years, we also are looking at a reuse system that will utilize this water to extinction. So Denver Basin water is reusable, and so we are going to take advantage of that by using pioneering levels of water reuse and conservation as part of this project. So I want to just take a second here and show you the Denver Basin. Probably you've seen this cross-section or one very similar to it fairly often, but the Denver Basin covers a very large area, over 6,700 square miles, going all the way from Greeley to Colorado Springs and from the Hogback area on the west side all the way out to Lyman. And the important takeaway in this slide is that top graph, which shows all of the individual bedrock aquifers of the Denver Basin. And at each of those color changes is a different aquifer. And there generally is a fairly large clay strata that separates these aquifers, so that there is really minimal to no hydraulic connection from one aquifer to another. For example, from the Dawson to the Denver, or the Denver to the Arapahoe, there's very little connection there because of these low permeability sediments that separate these different colors. And then it's been estimated, this is a USGS number, that the recoverable resources in the Denver Basin, and this would be the entire basin, somewhere around 259 million acre feet of water. Well, I don't want to imply that that water is locally available, but when you look at the plan view of the Denver Basin, Jim, you want to go to the next one? What you do see, though, is that Elbert County is a pretty large portion of the overall Denver Basin, covering about a quarter of the entire Denver Basin area. And you can see from the dot up there in the northwestern corner of Elbert County that that's where EC East is. And so you can see that it's generally maybe a little bit on the east side, but in the general central part of the Denver Basin. And so there's a fairly large amount of water that's available both within Elbert County and then locally around EC East. So one of the things I want to talk about are the characteristics of the basin, but these are the numbers that have been approved by the Groundwater Commission. So you can see the numbers that were approved, around 1,233 acre feet per year water is available. But then at the bottom you see that that has been leveraged to the 300-year supply, which equates to about 411 acre feet of water. That's a sustainable water supply for EC East. And based on the numbers that Carolyn has been talking about in terms of the development, the estimated maximum potable demand is around 399 acre feet per year. And I emphasize the word potable because, as I'm going to show in a minute, is that the first use Denver Basin water is only going to be used for potable demands. The non-potable irrigation landscaping demands will be met through that reuse component that's available to all Denver Basin water. So one of the issues that is typically comes up is what's the impact going to be of this pumping to users in the vicinity of the property. So I've already mentioned that there's extensive low permeability strata that separate one aquifer from another. And by statute in Colorado, you can only complete a well in one aquifer. So you cannot have a well that's completed through multiple aquifers. So what that does is it keeps the production of water isolated to each individual aquifer that that well is completed in. But in addition to that extensive strata, the low permeability strata that separates the aquifers, there's also extensive layering within each aquifer. So each aquifer is not one big water-bearing unit. Typically, for example, in the Denver or the Arapahoe, there may be 8 to 12 different water-bearing sandstones that are all separated by lower permeability siltstones and shales. So what does that mean? What it means really is that when you're pumping a well, the flow to that well really is horizontal, and it's coming from those individual water-bearing units. And so what that does is it really isolates the groundwater flow, and you don't get this vertical movement where, for example, a well that's drilled deeper than another well, there's not going to be vertical movement from that shallow well down to that deeper well. It's a misconception that I hear a lot, is that your well's deeper than mine, so it's going to tend to dry my well up. This isn't like a glass of water where somebody's got a straw on the bottom and someone's got a straw halfway down, and if you pull it down past that shallower straw, they have no more water. That's not the way these Denver Basin aquifers operate. The flow is horizontal, and so the depth of the wells is very important in terms of what connection there will be. So one of the things that, another thing that is important here is that there is a statutory requirement that provides minimum spacing between wells, and these wells that are going to be drilled at EC East are going to greatly exceed that statutory minimum spacing because, quite frankly, it benefits us to minimize well-to-well interference, because if we place wells close together that interfere with each other, it just creates a lower water level, more pumping costs. And so just from an engineering standpoint, you want to space wells as best you can between other wells that are similarly completed. Going back to the Denver Basin and that first slide where I showed you the amount of water that's in the Denver Basin, if you look at the total Denver Basin storage from a 300-year perspective, there could be approximately 863,000 acre-feet per year that could be produced. When you look at just Elbert County and what that annual supply is, it's about 175,000 acre-feet per year. So when you look at EC East and the annual estimated demand of a little under 400 acre-feet per year, what we're talking about is 0.2% of that water supply. So a very, very small amount of the Elbert County annual supply is looking to be developed as part of EC East. But one of the big components that I think is extremely important related to this development is that first use of Denver Basin water can be used, reused to extinction. And so that production of water from the Denver Basin is reduced through this full water reuse system. And I'll show you what that cycle looks like. So the Denver Basin, if you look on the lower left-hand side, that would be a Denver Basin well at EC East. And that well or series of wells that will be used to produce the water for EC East will only be for potable use in residential commercial buildings after treatment. And then all of the water that is returned from the home, so water from showers, dishwashers, washing machines, toilets, all that water heads back to a water reclamation facility where it's treated to standards that will allow that water to be discharged. But the water will, instead of being discharged to a stream, that water is going to be maintained and put into ponds, because while wastewater treatment is occurring year-round because the homes are occupied year-round, the irrigation, the landscaping is only done during an irrigation season, which may only be 7 or 8 months out of the year. Therefore, you have to store this water, but then as needed, that water will be pumped out of those ponds into a second independent water supply system with a pipeline that's separate from that potable system That water will then come back and provide all of the non-potable irrigation. And so what we're getting here is this full cycle of reuse where that water that's initially pumped out of that Denver Basin well is going to get used and reused to extinction and only pump the water from the well to meet the needs in the homes. So this is a very, very important water reuse system. I think it's consistent probably with what I've heard so far of the draft Elbert County Water Master Plan, and I think this is the paradigm for the future because we do have limited water supplies, so it's necessary to use these supplies as efficiently as possible. And with that, I think I'm going to turn this over to Chris to talk about transportation.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris McGranahan. I'm a principal traffic engineer with LSC Transportation Consultants. I've got 30-plus years of experience in transportation and traffic engineering. What you're looking on the screen here on the left is an excerpt from the Elbert County Master Transportation Plan, which was a guiding document for our work. Under criteria, you'll see that the proposed PUD, our criteria is the proposed PUD will not create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. Recently constructed or improved roadways by others in this general area. County Road 178 was constructed between Delbert Road and County Road 13 in the last few years. County Road 13 was connected between County Road 174 and 178 about the same time. And County Road 174 was improved between County Road 13 and County Road 21. Future roadway connections, CR 174 is expected to be, or planned to be connected between CR 21 and CR 29, likely by future adjacent development over time. Go to the next slide. Okay. The proposed site will be developed in multiple phases over time. As Carolyn suggested, this is a large project with the 25-year build-out. We're not going to do that in one filing. So we're expecting 200 to 400 dwelling units to come in at a time. Our master traffic study included a build-out analysis. So we looked at build-out traffic in 20, 25 years and what might be the expectation for roadway improvements over that time. We made recommendations for our future lane geometry and traffic control. The traffic study has been submitted and accepted with no further comments at this time. It's very important to note that supplemental traffic studies will accompany each of those 200 to 400 lot filings, and those will come in over time and will identify the site or filing-specific recommended roadway improvements for that filing. I will now turn it over to Andrew Knutson from Economic Planning Systems to discuss the economic and fiscal impact of the project.
Thank you, Chris. Andrew Knutson with Economic and Planning Systems. I'm the managing principal of the Denver office of the firm and have been there for 25 years. There are three major takeaways from the fiscal impact analysis we've conducted for the project, and these three are highlighted on the screen in front of you currently. One, the project is fiscally net positive. Revenues to Elbert County exceed expenditures from Elbert County. One of the reasons why this is the case is that the roads are private. Roads are not inexpensive to maintain, and the only roads that will be impacted and required Elbert County support are those on the perimeter of the project. Everything interior is private. Just as a point of context, Elbert County's budget will increase by 9% as a result of the net positive conditions and revenues flowing to the county as a result of this project. A couple of other things to highlight is that the fiscal impact analysis has been based on the development program, and Susan Wade and her team at Redland has created a very diverse set of housing unit types. And it's important to just recognize that the community of Elbert County evolves over time. Interests for housing today has evolved from interests that were there when people first moved to the county, and the range of housing types in the plan meet a range of interests. Finally, the last headline, if you will, is that the rooftops here will generate the critical mass needed to go vertical with retail local in Elbert County. This will prevent the leakage that's occurring today and will retain those dollars in Elbert County and convert them into sales and corresponding sales tax. A little bit more detail in terms of how the fiscal and economic impact analysis has been conducted. We evaluated the revenues and the expenditures generated by the program. So the revenues that are relevant are there on the left part of the screen: property tax, sales tax, use tax, impact fees. The expenditures that are impacted in the county budget by a project like this are the general fund, road and bridge fund, human services fund, and sales and use tax fund. The 2,450 total residential dwelling units and the 450,000 square feet of commercial and industrial are delineated in this table. It's a lot of fine print, especially for the Salmonite, but this is the program that drives the fiscal model. The next slide. The revenue projection, we are looking at total revenues generated by this project at $3.7 million annually at build-out. The sources of this include property tax, fairly straightforward. Assessed valuation comes online as each building is completed. The mills dedicated to the county are applied in delayed. It's built 1 year, assessed 1 year, and the revenues start to flow the following year. With that delayed sequence, which is statewide, these revenues will occur from 2027 through 2050 and reflect the build-out of the project. The sales tax is interesting because we've got a couple different sources of sales tax. The first is brick and mortar, and we're looking at that growing from $65,000 in the early years up to $500,000 in the later years at build-out from 2032 to 2050. We do a fairly detailed sales tax analysis based on we do a lot of market analysis, and we've got models based on the U.S. Census of Retail Trade calibrated for Colorado that identify the dollars each household will spend by store category. And we've accounted for sales flows to Parker, to Castle Rock, what's competitive, what this project is likely to be able to capture, and there's corresponding revenues from those captured dollars. In addition to the brick and mortar sales tax, we also have e-commerce. Recently, in the last 5 years, this U.S. Supreme Court has handed down a verdict called the Wayfair decision that enables local governments to apply local sales tax to e-commerce. And based on the household incomes that are corresponding to the home sales prices, we know about how much will be spent on e-commerce and what Elbert County can tax from those sales and what the revenues will be that are derived, ranging from or growing from $6,000 in the early years up to $140,000 annually at build-out. In addition to these recurring revenues, we have one-time revenues, use tax paid on the materials used for the construction of the commercial and the retail, the commercial and the residential. That use tax totals $6.3 million over the course of build-out. Impact fees also assessed at time of permit, $23.4 million over the course of the project. All of these revenues are shown in 2024 constant dollars. It eliminates assumptions related to how to inflate revenues and expenditures, and by holding them constant, it's a much more accurate, much less likely to distort revenues or expenditures. So constant dollars is what we use on every project. The next slide shows all of these revenues graphically. So there was a lot of text, a lot of detail in which I just covered. This really is the takeaway in terms of what you want to focus on. We've got property tax in the dark blue, and sales tax, brick and mortar, light blue, and green is sales tax e-commerce. Those three you can see grow over the course of the project and then stabilize at build-out and then run in perpetuity. We show from 2050 to 2060 as the stabilized performance of the project with these three revenue sources coming into the county, again, running in perpetuity. The impact fees and the use tax are based on time of permit. Those you can see escalate over time based on the activity in a given year, and those terminate upon build-out. On the expenditures, thank you. We've got these 4 funds that are relevant to the county. The county will spend more money on this project, approximately $2.2 million at full build-out. So it comes with its expenses. The general fund expenses will reach $1.5 million at build-out. Road and bridge, fairly limited, $67,000 per year, based on the limited number of lane miles. And this is based on the traffic study that Chris provided in terms of the improvements required of the county on the perimeter, and thus the additional responsibilities of the county in terms of maintenance and the financial costs that go along with that. Human Services Special Revenue Fund grows to $167,000 annually, and the Sales and Use Tax Special Revenue Fund grows to $426,000. These are all based on the county's current budget and what the county spends per dwelling unit or per square foot of commercial property. And those factors have been applied to this building program to then generate an estimate of what the county is likely to spend in the future. Again, all these expenditures are also shown in constant dollars. On the next slide, we show all of this data graphically. So we've got these 4 funds, and you can see how they grow over time and then have a stabilized condition at build-out, which we're anticipating will occur in 2050. The takeaway is on the last slide, and this is the revenues and expenditures shown together in one slide. The dark blue are the revenues above the line, the gray are the expenditures below the line, and the teal line that weaves its way through the chart is the net conditions that the county will see each year. And you can see that as it builds out, depending on the year, depending on the activity, it ranges. The important thing is to look at stabilization in 2050, $1.5 million of surplus dollars to reach the county in a stabilized state that will run in perpetuity. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Jim. Jim will talk a little bit about the community outreach and conclude our presentation.
Okay, Andrew, thank you. I do want to point out, I know people are taking notes and things. We put on our website this presentation, so it'll give us a day or two, but this will get out onto our website for those who want to refer back to it. We have had a number of public meetings. I know that Sandra had noted one of them. We actually had 2 separate posted meetings over the past 2 years. I've had a number of meetings with local residents, and we've tried to take that feedback into account. We've made a number of changes. We reduced our total unit count from almost 3,000, over 2,900 to 2,450. We have kind of changed some of the offsets. We've taken most of the commercial out of the northern piece of the parcel, and a number of other updates that we've done to that. I guess that's me. Our key stakeholders really are, Kiowa Fire Department and the Kiowa School District. Those 2 groups we have started to work with. We will continue to work with. We've had a number of meetings with the school district. They, as you may know, have a potential to build a new school. Whether they end up successful that or not, we will continue to work with them. In their proposal for the grant application, their projection, including this project at 3,000 units, was 127 students in the first 10 years, or the next 10 years. That is probably fairly close because, as I said at the beginning, we will spend probably the next 2 years putting in water, wastewater, roads. We'll develop land the following year, so the first half of that 10 years won't really yield too many homes on site and therefore not too many students. But that will grow and that will ramp up. We do have a site dedicated, or identified, I should say. It is not dedicated. We have a site identified that will be for an elementary or an elementary and middle school. We view that as a feeder into the Kiowa High School over time. There was a concern from the school district that the road that connects up to that site is not paved. It is not currently paved. We will pave that road. It's 166 from Kiowa Bennett up to 53. It's not too long of a stretch, but that will all be paved before a school would be open there. Beyond that, let's see. As we mentioned earlier, our internal roads are owned and maintained by our districts. That's $50 million of roads and 45 miles within the community. All of that is maintained, snow plow. We'll have a fund for replacement over time. We'll bring in fiber. There's actually fiber along Kiowa Bennett Road. It's called dark fiber that's not being used. We'll be able to pull that in and have great opportunity for commercial and residential use on the fiber. Kind of in conclusion, there are no identified adverse impacts on the public utilities and services that won't be mitigated through the implementation of our metropolitan districts, imposing fees and property taxes, as well as taxes and fees that are paid directly to the county and to the local service districts. With that, give it back to Carolyn.
Thank you, and you'll be glad to know we're heading into the home stretch here. This is the conclusion. So I'm just going to take a few moments to take everything you've heard about the project and link it back to the criteria, which ultimately, obviously, is the fundamental basis for your decision. As you have seen in this presentation, the application meets or exceeds all of the criteria in the Elbert County Code for PUD. The PUD conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. It's compatible with the surrounding land uses. It will not adversely affect the provision of public services. As was just mentioned by Jim, we'll have metropolitan districts which will construct, own, operate, and maintain the majority of the infrastructure. We'll be paying land dedication fees. And as Andrew explained in some detail, the ultimate benefit to the county is a net positive fiscal benefit. There will not be adverse environmental impacts. We talked a lot about the conservation community and how the open spaces will be preserved and enhanced within the project. And as Chris explained, it will not create unreasonable traffic congestion because as the project builds out, each final plat will do additional traffic studies to identify what improvements are needed to accommodate the development associated with each one of those individual final plats. And finally, will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. The project has been designed to provide amenities and public services that will benefit the health, safety, and public welfare of the county. Next slide. Conservation community criteria, minimum of 80 acres for the total parcel size, 50% open space, and this describes how the land for open space is to be used, preserved, and maintained in a conservation community, which is entirely consistent with some of the principles that we've described and with the requirements in the PUD guide. Next slide. And there'll be legal parcels, and it complies with all the county regulations. For the plat criteria, as you've seen in the presentation, it meets or exceeds all of the plat criteria. We talked at length about the water supply that is sufficient in terms of quantity, dependability, and quality. That was a 300-year water supply that Bruce explained. We also are creating a public sewage disposal system. The special district will be formed to provide both water and wastewater services. It'll be a new state-of-the-art water and wastewater facility. Keep clicking. There we go. We didn't talk a lot about this, but this is a requirement that the project be designed to accommodate any special conditions, hazardous conditions, topography, and so on. And as I explained earlier, the open spaces in particular and the layout of the site plan has been designed to accommodate that. We talked at length about compliance with the requirements of the subdivision regulations and the Elbert County zoning regulations. All of those requirements are met. And finally, the plat, like the PUD, is consistent with and furthers the goals of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. So as we have demonstrated tonight, the proposed PUD and the subdivision preliminary plat comply with all the relevant and applicable county regulations and criteria for approval. So we respectfully request that you recommend approval of both the PUD and the plat to the Board of County Commissioners, and we look forward to the opportunity to hear public comment, respond to public comment, and answer your questions. Thanks for your time and attention to our presentation tonight.
So just one quick question. Jim, you mentioned that this was going to be posted on your website. Is this Elbert County East website?
Yes, that is correct. The website that you see here is.
There. You guys flew through a couple slides that I was really interested in. So
Yes. And if you can't find it, that info email, we can email it to you as well. And Mark, I don't know if you guys keep a copy of the presentation as well.
Yes, we do.
It should be on the county.
Yes, 3 places.
You complete? All right, if we could, I already took my break, but we'll go for a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we'll go into citizen comments and questions. I couldn't hold it anymore. I had to go. Crap.
usually that's my line.
Wendy, you ready? What's that? Everybody? Well, we got Van over there. I'm seeing if we could get people back to your seats and see if we could get through the citizen comment part of this.
I gave you the top sheet. I have left another one up there with a pen so
And
they
it's,
can sign
yeah,
your
it
name
looks,
and
as they
address.
come in, I've been writing them down
Yeah,
on
that
here
helps
for you
me. Thank you.
because if I can hear them.
All right, I'm going to start this recorder.
Go ahead, start that one. We'll see if we can get going.
Commissioners, tables on record. I'll start the other one.
I got Van over there. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, let's get started. Thank you for the time for the break. Kind of needed that. So we're at citizen comment part. So here was what I would ask. I don't know how much we're going to get through, but what I would like to see if we could do is go through citizen comments, and I would ask the applicant that if you could please take note of the comments that people all have, staff also, please. And then what we will do, I don't think we'll get to it tonight because we'll probably shut it down right after citizen comment. But then tomorrow night we'll come back and we'll take up that part, and maybe you can answer questions or concerns from folks or what have you. So it's already been scheduled, so we're pretty much kind of, I think it's been scheduled that way, and that's by, Mark, can you address that?
Can I recommend we move it to the next planning session? Yes, Mark Denry, Director of Community and Economic Development. The way it was designed for the possibility of carrying over was to conduct, go into recess and then reconvene the Planning Commission the subsequent evening.
And it was actually posted that way, correct, Mark?
I do not believe it was posted in that way. This is something that, we have that plan as a backup. It's also a situation where it is the discretion of the Planning Commission to select a day and time certain to continue a meeting such as this.
Okay, so if we select a day and time certain ahead, can we then continue it and at the same sequence, or do we have to start over in some areas?
No, there would be no start over or redo. You would pick it up where you left off. So it'd be effective, a continuance, a recess, and then a reconvene, and then you begin where you were the previous meeting.
Okay, so if we didn't post it that the continuation was going to be the next night, then
Then there is flexibility built in,
There is
Mr. Chair.
flexibility.
Yes.
If we posted it, then we're bound by statute because that's a legal posting. Since that did not occur, then I'd look at continuing it to another date and time.
That is the discretion of the Planning Commission.
And, well, it also seems like we've got a few people. So, with that said, what date? Because we need to define a date so you can, and does it have to be 2 weeks out to meet the posting requirements? Or can we set a date like next week?
You can set a date as early as tomorrow or any time thereafter. Yeah, if you continue the meeting.
Okay. So
pardon me, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the way we had it set up again was, in the event that you wanted to carry the meeting over to tomorrow evening, that was built in a sense, in terms of planning to have that ready for you, but you have the flexibility to select another date.
Okay. So of course you're the one who wants the date changed. What day you want? Tuesday of next week?
Do we, hang on, this is not a voting thing.
Wait a minute. This is, let me
do we have
state something. Okay, here's the thing. This is a decision in the Planning Commission up here. Okay, I understand there. So we will look to the Planning Commission to
Can we commit and get enough
Well,
people to the
you guys
board
gotta come
for
to
Tuesday? For next Tuesday?
well, who can all make it next Tuesday?
The
Who
applicant?
can make it next Tuesday? Can you folks make it next Tuesday?
No, sir, we cannot.
Okay. They need to be here.
I would recommend the next scheduled planning commission.
So
meeting.
that takes us into September.
Yeah, that would be Tuesday, September 3.
Okay, so that puts us past, it doesn't matter going past the BOCC meeting, you just continue on the BOCC meeting. Just, let's see, so we're looking at, if we look at September 3rd, that's what, yeah, if we got some other things on the books, yeah. Well, see, the thing is, the next thing we have to hear, we've also got to hear the service plan, which is going to be quite lengthy. So do we have anything set for Tuesday the 3rd?
Yes, there is a PUD application that the Planning Commission is scheduled to hear on September 3rd that is somewhat sizable as well.
And the notice has gone out on that yet? No, I know. So really, then, Mark, so we don't get too backlogged, what we'll end up doing is let's schedule it for Tuesday the 3rd, Can you make it? No, Tuesday the 3rd, September, you can't make it.
Mr. Chairman, we set aside tonight, tomorrow night, and Thursday night based on our conversations with staff.
And the email I received said that we would continue it over the following day. I know, that's what came out to us too.
Tuesday night is the most popular hearing night, and I am personally scheduled every Tuesday in September to be in a different jurisdiction.
No, so then, let's look at August. What if we went like August 22nd, this Thursday? That work for you folks?
Let's do that.
Can we do that? That way we get it done before we go into next month. Can, Mark, you guys?
We also have scheduling challenges with our contract planner as well to be available. So there are lots of, facets here. And you can select, as you just proposed, another day of the week because you have that option as well. It doesn't have to be a Tuesday.
Okay, so we are looking at the 22nd. What? No? Pardon me?
I thought we had already set aside Thursday. I thought that was already confirmed.
Pardon me? I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
Did you set aside 2 days?
It was in the hip pocket if we need it, but is it okay if we entertain a short recess to talk about this?
Yes.
So we
give us a chance.
Thank you.
Let's talk about it 5 minutes because I will tell you right now where we're sitting, we will not get to public comment. So yes. Let's do a 5-minute recess, and all of you stay up here. Let's see what we can iron out.
Can we huddle up over here? We're going to need somebody from y'all. So I know you guys are trying to work with vendors or the developer and with the county, but I'd like to just remind you guys, we're the citizens. We need to have our voices heard.
We're a citizens advisory group also. We're the same boat you are.
Except you're controlling the meeting.
We aren't controlling anything. We have no legislative authority whatsoever. We're here. We're going to voice our opinion about it also.
Okay. I took this week off so I could be here.
Okay.
That's why we're trying to get Thursday.
And that's why we're trying to get it.
I mean, a lot of us have a commitment. You gave the developers hours for their presentation. I would like us.
You will get, I will give every amount of time to everybody out there, depending on what day we do it.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Okay. And I don't need.
Your mic is on.
get it done. We can get through the question and answer.
Six to
and we
1
can
a.m.
get
Is that what
through.
I heard?
You did not hear that. Remember the good behavior?
What time is it?
22nd at 6.
No.
Well, then, and the person that said about, I'm just curious about the person that had complained about it. Couldn't they speak tonight? I mean, I don't.
Let's see, what time is it?
No, because it was already
Okay. Mark, then what we'll do, we'll open it up, start public comment. We'll go until 11 o'clock. We'll end it. Then we will, and we're going to recess until Thursday at 6.
Yeah.
How's that? Huh? But that's tough. Okay, if we could take our seats. I think we've got a plan.
This one's on. Give me 1 second for the other one. Commissioners, your table's on mic.
So at this time, since we've got a little bit of time left because we're actually, based on our rules, our things, we stop at 11. So what I thought we would do is we would start public comment tonight, get through some of these who cannot come, and then we will recess this meeting until Thursday the 22nd, and then it will start at 6 p.m. Okay, so with that said, if we could go through a few folks, we have about 20 minutes. And I know that some of you, if you can't get here Thursday, I have this list here. I would offer that the folks who can't make it Thursday, please step up so we can make note of your comments. So if we could start, the first one I show is Beverly Durant. Okay, Beverly, and I'll just go over a few things. One, our public comment. Please try to keep it to 3 minutes.
There we go. Thank you. Beverly Durant, 40968 Kiowa Bennett Road.
And if you could please, 3 minutes,
Yep.
okay? We
Don't
will
start
take
it yet,
note of
then.
your comments, and I want to be certain that everybody understands that we're all taking notes so we can hopefully answer some questions on Thursday.
Okay, first of all, I just want to point out that the signs or notices for this was only on the corner of 166 and Kiowa Bennett and around the curve on Kiowa Bennett. Nothing on 53, which is half of this development. Also, at the concept design meeting and a meeting in April, the developers were told they must maintain the internal roads. You have the same developer who's now asking the county to take over the roads in another development. How long before the same developer is going to ask the county to take over these roads? I'm going to start with roads, which is a huge concern. None of the surrounding roads are well maintained. Kiowa Bennett has been paving for the last month, and there's still holes in it. All this extra traffic is going to be a very detriment to the area. The county cannot handle that amount of traffic. And also the corner of 166 and Kiowa Bennett is a killer corner, people and animals. There have been many deaths there. I live on that corner, and at least 3 to 4 times a year, people go through my fence because of the way that curve is. They cannot make the corner, and it doesn't matter how fast they're going, they still do it. So that's a huge concern, is the roads. Water is another huge concern. Already an adjoining landowner has had to re-drill her well because she ran out of water. So their water is being depleted. Kiowa Creek is right across the street. It runs dry every single year. So there is not enough water to support this. This also does not fit with the area. It is not compatible and it is not in harmony. It will not coexist with the surrounding area because this is open grazing land. It's like they want to put a mini city in the middle of nowhere. The nearest development is Peak Vista, which is 10-acre lots. This is less than a quarter of an acre. It isn't compatible at all. Public services are not adequate in that area, and it is not going to be the same rural area that it is now. Wildlife is another huge concern. Any corridors that they say they've created for wildlife, they can't go through that thing. It's going to be, the whole development will not be used by any wildlife. The biggest concern is bald eagles. For the last 9 months, we have had bald eagles in that area. We have not seen that in 20 years. This development is going to eradicate them. Also, another neighbor adjoining property thinks that his cottonwoods have the nest for the bald eagles because he's seen them. So that's a huge concern. Fire. The fire department has already told this developer they do not have the manpower, the money, or being able to maintain anything. If there's any kind of fire from this development, it will eradicate that entire area and go right through it because, like I said, it is open range. The school, they say they're going to dedicate land.
That's 3 minutes.
Oh, already? I timed it even. Okay. I was going to talk about the housing needs because we've already have enough housing. Did you say 2 minutes or 3 minutes? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next one on the list. Again, now, Michelle Murphy. Again, I ask that folks who can't make it on Thursday, please. Oh, so you're Michelle.
I'm not Michelle. Michelle Murphy is the attorney for the Kiowa School District. I am the president of the school board. She could not make it tonight because she didn't get notice of this meeting until this afternoon, and she lives in Boulder. So she asked me to make sure that you knew these concerns. The school board has not taken any action to approve any land dedication. Their attorney says that they will continue to work with the school, but there are no guarantees in the development agreement saying that the developer is required to work with the schools. I'm just going to read her email. Good afternoon. I am the attorney representing the Kiowa School District. I just learned that the EC East rezone and preliminary plat will be before the Planning Commission tonight. I was extremely disappointed to learn that there is no language in the development agreement that in any way is responsive to the district's concerns as stated in their 2 prior submittal requests, or responses, excuse me. As the district has clearly represented, there are concerns as to whether the district can absorb the growth in the short term and how it will fund development of a new school facility in the long term. At a minimum, we ask that the developer include language making any final subdivision phasing approvals contingent upon the execution of a binding agreement between the developer and the school district. Also, I just want to point out, as far as I know, there has only been 1 meeting with the school. It took them 3 months to get information to us that we requested at that meeting, and the information was the phasing. They should have already had that information. So the cooperation is kind of iffy in the school district's estimation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next one. Looks like we have Otto Burden.
Can I just say something real quick? I don't know who all is not going to be able to make it Thursday, and I'm not sure if I'm going to take somebody else's spot, but it was nice that you all got to meet together, but the public is part of the, they were part of this. We didn't get to hear this. We weren't able to put in any of our input, and the public notices for these meetings, they weren't posted anywhere, so we don't have a Thursday,
Okay,
well,
sir.
not for this meeting, but the Thursday meeting. There's no public posting, so who all is going to be able to not be here?
Okay. Otto? Are you Otto Burden?
Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
go ahead,
Yes.
please.
My name is Otto Burden. I live at 41435 Country Rose Circle. That's up in Deer Creek Farm. And I just have a few concerns. Some have already been spoken to on schools, but as far as roads, this project is 15 miles from Parker, 8 miles from Kiowa, 17 miles from Bennett. And to my knowledge, there are no arterials between Highway 86 and I-70 east-west. So I don't know how they're going to get, all we have out there are two-lane country roads with no shoulders for the most part. And I noticed that there's been no mention of off-site roads in the conditions of approval.
Okay.
Police and fire, unlike urban areas that have the equipment to fight this kind of density, the thought that came to my mind is response time. You could pretty well kiss that goodbye, because instead of being a few minutes or 10 minutes, it could be a half an hour or 45 minutes. So I don't know, that's a big issue. Schools, I agree, children of 6,500 residents, there isn't a school for them that I'm aware of. And lastly, the impact fees that's supposed to pay for roads and schools, there's a lag problem, because by the time enough is collected to do the work, it's already several years past the need to do the work. So that's just out of whack. And I noticed it didn't show in the fiscal analysis that there were impact fees collected, but no offsetting county expenditures to build roads or schools or fire from those impact fees. And lastly, infrastructure, all the above, just isn't there to support this. This is out in the middle of nowhere, and the area is just not ready for it. Thank you.
Okay. Outside road improvements, timing of road improvements, primarily road concerns. Yeah, I wanted to. All right, we have Sunny Mills? Okay, good. So you can't be here on Thursday? Oh, okay. Please. Your name?
My name is Jamie Schmidt. I am not a resident of Elbert County. I live at 9321 West 90th Drive in Westminster. I'm here on behalf of Butterfly Pavilion. We are a consultant with EC, with Craft Communities, and with EC West we worked on, and Independence, and we're also going to be working with them on EC East. So we have a program that is dedicated to certification. We work with municipalities, developers, oil and gas, and other businesses to help them meet sustainability goals. We come in with our team of biologists, of entomologists, and horticulturalists to help them determine what type of plantings for native plants to bring back into areas that have been developed or ground has been disturbed, that will help bring in pollinators to help create connectivity. We do this all around the globe within our organization. And our certification has hard data and measurable sets of science behind it to be able to prove that we're doing this, which helps create more habitat after ground has been disturbed. And also, we work very strongly with these native plants to help with water conservation, which I understand as a resident of Colorado in every county is a very big issue. And by bringing in native plants and bringing in native grasses and making sure that with our consultation that those things happen and we create this pollinator connectivity, we can really help developers and communities at large live in, not destroy their habitat and really help preserve that. And so that is our goal. And we just wanted to let this committee know and to let the residents of this county know that we are really strong with our commitment to making sure these things happen through our certification program. And we have been working very well with craft communities in the past, and everything that we have suggested they have done, and we have the hard science and data. If at any time anyone's interested in that, we can show them our studies that we have done. And we just want you to know that we are part of this project, and we want to ensure that the community enjoys the beauty of pollinator habitat. Of course, in agriculture, 1/3 of crops are relying on pollinators, and pollinators create more habitat. So I just welcome any questions at any time. If anybody has that, they can reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon me, have you signed your name and address on the sheet?
She's got her name, then what I'm missing here is her address. Jamie Schmidt, address?
SCHMIDT. My
I got
address.
that.
Do you want my work address or do you want my home?
Whatever one you want.
I'll give you my work so that nobody throws out important mail or anything. What is my work address? I just show up. I don't look at the address. I'll give you my home. 9321 West 90th Drive, and that's Westminster.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You got it, Wendy? Okay. All right, let's see. Let's go back up here. We were sitting at Sunny?
Mills,
Yes.
27310 Forest Ridge Drive,
Gotcha.
southeast of here. Okay, so I'm here to talk about 3 different things. One is the last time I talked or was in front of the Planning Commission, Anderson Analytics of Colorado Springs was telling us that if we continue growth the way we're going to have a 150% increase in property taxes. I don't know if you remember, but I got up and walked out of the meeting. I couldn't believe it. We're retirees on a fixed income. We have many retirees in this county. And the 2023 tax assessment shocked many people. Those in Elizabeth are paying $500 more a month. We're paying $100 more a month in property taxes. The initial reasoning was that we would have housing that was affordable for our sheriffs, our firefighters, urgent care workers, trying to be able to take care of our population. For most of us, this is our American dream. We bought our dream house. The average home in EC West, we were told at the last meeting, was going to be $800,000 apiece. I talked to the sheriffs over during, here actually, at the fair. And they were telling me how they can't live in our county. We don't pay them enough. In order for them to buy an $800,000 home, they would have to have a much higher income. So we don't even have the people. Even if you could build the facilities for firefighters in this community, we don't have people we can retain. We don't even have people that can enforce zoning laws, as Mark pointed out. So this is a huge concern for us, that as we build more and more and more homes, my home, I will have to move, and I won't be able to live here, as most of us probably won't be able to. Not only that, but the kind of place that it'll be will be different. As I came in, I saw a herd of antelope right by the fire station in Kiowa. So fun. And then as I parked over thinking the meeting was at the other place, there was a herd of deer. And that's just how it is out here. Unfortunately, we've had a coyote come on my property lately. They've been forced here by the overbuilding south of us. They don't usually go into wooded areas. We have ponderosa trees that are 300 years old. And that brings me to my next concern. The power pathway is going right next to this development. It's not within 150 feet of your code. Your code is 150 feet away from any homes. However, if it's on the other side of Kiowa Bennett, it won't be far enough. And the apartments are not far enough away. You're going to have to redo your entire plan because the power pathway is coming in.
Sonny, are you almost done?
Yes, I'm almost done.
Please.
So we know that after watching the fires up north, that these fires go higher than 150 feet in the air, and the above ground towers will be 150 feet in the air. We also know that in Houston, as the fires went under the high KVA lines, they heated the towers and the towers collapsed. And you're putting a school over there. So how do you get the children out? How do you evacuate everybody when you're 17 miles, when your roads are so limited? So we have some severe problems with this development.
Thank you. Okay. It is now 10:57. So, can I entertain a motion to, we're not going to continue, we're going to recess till 6 p.m. Thursday the 22nd. Same location? Here? Or?
Mr. Chair, it would be a continuance. Yeah.
Would it be a
You're going to
continuance?
recess, but it's a continuance until a day and time certain.
Okay. Thank you. Then amend that. Here or county building, what is it?
This would be a suitable location here.
Here?
Yes.
Okay.
In this
Okay.
very space. Thank you.
Okay. So, have the motion? So moved. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, folks. We will see you Thursday night.